Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. I had a time today where I was thinking about all of the people when I started this new channel, other show hosts, other content creators, other podcasters who recognized me starting a new channel and how difficult, of course, that would be, and gave me a shout out or a little bit of help to get some people listening and watching. And so I felt like, yeah, maybe I have a karmic debt and I can help some other people as well. For those that don't know, Tere Joyce has a really fun channel and just rebooted her channel, Not My Rabbit Hole, which if you enjoy the kind of content that you get here, hers is different but interesting. And I think that you would really enjoy it. And I was thinking about her starting her new channel and what incredible interviews and other stuff that I have seen her do in the past. And I wanted to see if we could do two things tonight. One is to try to help her to grow her brand new, recently rebooted channel. And by the way, if you go down into the video description, her new channel address is there. So you can jump over there and subscribe. I would truly appreciate it, and I think that you would enjoy her content. Tonight, we're going to be sharing something that I almost forgot about, but there is a portion of this interview. Tonight, we're going to be sharing an interview and discussing it that Tere Joyce did with Kevin Moore. But the great part of this interview is that Kevin Moore shares a taped phone conversation between him and Kerry Cassidy. And in that conversation, he kind of confronts Kerry Cassidy about why is she using a convicted murderer as a source for the secret space program. For those unaware, Kerry Cassidy loves criminals. All her sources about all her fake alien sources, well, I shouldn't say all, but many of her sources about her fake alien stories are criminals. Let's see. She's used a court-martialed child molester. She's used a convicted murderer in the form of Mark Richards. Mark Richards is her source that even though he's been in prison for 35 years now for masterminding a murder, claims that he's in the secret space program or was in the secret space program. Maybe that was before he went to prison, but more recently claims that they teleport him out of his jail cell and give him updates from the Galactic Federation. And Kerry Cassidy, who never heard a story about aliens that was too fantastical or fake to report, ran with this guy, Mark Richards, and has been running with this guy, Mark Richards, as a source for years now, claiming that he has some sort of inside knowledge about the secret space program, even though he's behind bars and in prison. But it is what it is. I just thought this is awesome because Kevin Moore, and I heard somebody comment on the live chat, he interviews some questionable people too. However, I like Kevin Moore. I've kind of lost my objectivity. I disagree with Kevin Moore on a whole lot of subjects, especially channeling. I don't think there's any value to most channeling. That's my personal opinion. I don't think that people are really channeling interdimensional aliens or ancient spirits or, Sumerian gods or Atlanteans. I think they're making it all up. That's my personal opinion. He's free to have a differing opinion of this. And so, yeah, Kevin Moore and I disagree, but I still would consider he and I friendly. We've had a few conversations. He's supposed to come on our show. So this is actually another opportunity to sort of go, hey, Kevin, come on. I covered your excellent confronting of Kerry Cassidy on the show. Come on the show because I'm sure that our audience would like to hear from Kevin Moore. I'm sure of it. But he's a very busy guy. He's working on this. He's been working on a documentary about this fake secret space astronaut. That's my favorite term for secret space fakers. Corey Good. He's an astronaut. He's a secret space program astronaut. And Mark Richards, who's been behind bars for a murder he orchestrated and masterminded and been behind bars for 35 years. How does this guy know anything about the secret space program? Or is he just sitting around in prison making up stories and trying to find gullible, stupid people to listen to him? Like Kerry Cassidy, who's been one of his biggest supporters, I would say. There's no credibility to Mark Richards. You can't get past the I'm teleporting out into another solar system from my jail cell. Really? Come on, bro. Is that how fantastical we've gotten? Is that the level of like proof and discernment and critical thinking that people that listen to Kerry Cassidy have? Do they just want fairy tales? Lately, the more that I observe this crazy thing in conspiracy land and observe so-called researchers, after all, we just caught Kerry Cassidy with her pants down. Oh, that's a bad analogy. I don't even want to think about that. We caught Kerry Cassidy red-handed repeating fake stories about the tragic death of someone in the UFO community recently. All of the things that she wrote on her blog about it, all of she made a few videos about it. All of the information that she's giving people is completely and totally factually inaccurate and incorrect. All of it. And we caught her red-handed. Does she take that down? No. Her and the other source of that fake information, Robert Morningstar, are now disparaging me, calling me a CIA disinformation agent. Because I made some phone calls and told people the truth. Right? Yeah. And by the way, I always say this, if I'm a CIA disinformation agent, they keep forgetting to give me the paycheck. I haven't gotten the paycheck, right? Oh, and by the way, speaking of paychecks, I want to make sure that I almost missed it. Karen Rocha is here. You are most welcome here, Karen. And with a fine and generous donation of, I think that's $5 Canadian, and says, happy birthday again, Stephen. Thank you very much. My birthday was yesterday. Had an amazing birthday, had an amazing time. Really just a quiet night at home with my wife and 2 children eating Philadelphia cheesecake, which is my favorite thing in the universe. Favorite dessert for sure is Philadelphia cheesecake. There's no other cheesecake like it. Yeah. So, and if anybody else would like to support me, there's a little money button down there, or the link to our Patreon or PayPal donations is in the video description. And thank you very much, Karen, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. This is a viewer-supported show. So if you want to see more shows like this, more content, I'm really gearing up to try to figure out how I could do, 6 or 10 shows a week. I have enough material, but the problem is time, energy, and other things, right? But thank you, Karen, for your kindness and your generosity and your support. We really do appreciate it. It really does help us to keep the show going. Keep the ball rolling, right? And I used to feel like, I always use this analogy, I used to feel like when I started the show, I felt like I was trying to push a boulder up a hill by myself, right? And now I feel like I've got all these people that are not only helping me push the boulder up the hill, but helping me gain momentum and slam it down the other side of the hill. Really feeling empowered and grateful, and for all the help and assistance that people have been to keep the show going. So back to Miss Cassidy is now calling me a CIA disinformation agent, or I'm sorry, she said I'm a deep state asset. I don't even know what that means. I'm an asset of the deep state. Or did she mean asshat? Am I an asshat of the deep state, Kerry Cassidy? Or am I just a guy with some curiosity and a phone? And I made some phone calls and proved that you were telling lies on your blog and telling lies in your video. Bold-faced lies. Completely made up fake facts. But why should anybody expect otherwise from this woman? After all, she's got incredibly great sources like court-martialed child molesters, telling alien stories about Mars, convicted murderers telling stories about him being in the secret space program and saving planet Earth, from the alien invasion. Oh, and who's another one of her great friends? Sean David Morton, who is a convicted fraudster and embezzler and stole money from all these people that invested in some kind of weird investment scam with him. He's doing time in federal prison, or is he out now, Kerry Cassidy? I think he's out now. but he did a few years in federal prison for fraud. These are the quality of Kerry Cassidy's sources. Kerry, you can't trust a court-martialed child molester, okay? You can't. And you can't trust a convicted murderer when he starts telling you fantastical stories about saving Earth from the aliens. Kerry, I think you've been in this too long, and I think you need an alien detox, right? Somebody needs to sit you down and make you watch real news, right? And I don't care which news, but come on, Kerry. You got to get out of conspiracy wacko shit and stop accepting anybody telling you stories about aliens as being real, right? So again, one of the other purposes of tonight for sure is to try to help my friend Tere Joyce. You may have seen her on the first season of, oh God, I always forget the name of it. It's like the comedy show. It's like the Last Comic Standing. You may have seen her. She was on the first season of the Last Comic Standing, with Ralphie May. Ralphie May is one of my favorite comedians. And yeah. So she started a new channel called Not My Rabbit Hole. And the channel link is in the description, but I wanted to share some of her previous work tonight. Okay, I didn't ask her. So we're still going to put up our fair use banner. This is fair use. This is a transformative work. We will be educating the public about Kerry Cassidy and Mark Richards, the convicted murderer who's been in jail for 35 years, secret space astronaut that she talks to. We'll be discussing this video and educating the public on these things. So this is, of course, covered under fair use. I got to tell you, the interview is good, but my favorite part is when Kevin Moore shares this phone call between him and Kerry Cassidy. And some of you may remember that we did a whole show on Kerry Cassidy arguing with Dr. Stephen Greer. This is better. This is even better than that. It is gold, friends. You're going to love it. We're going to be stopping the video every once in a while to comment and talk about what's being discussed. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be fun. So, and I hope my friend Tere Joyce doesn't mind me just borrowing this. But it's better to beg forgiveness than to ask permission. And by the way, if she's listening, I'll send her the link. She can come on later if she wants and talk about this interview and her new channel or whatever. But if not, it's okay. I just thought that if I could try to help Tere with the new channel she just started, I would be happy to do that. So here we go. This is an interview titled Kerry Cassidy and Mark Richards, an interview with Kevin Moore by Tere Joyce. Okay, so here we go. And look, this is before she was blonde. This is in 2019. She must have been a redhead for a while, right?
All right, welcome to the Freedom of Joyce show here on YouTube, and hopefully it will re-air on American Freedom Radio. Today, my guest is Kevin Daniel Moore. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Terry, for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you in person.
Yeah, I know we've talked a little bit on the telephone. I know some bits about your work, and I thought, you know what, you're going to give us the opportunity to have an interview, and I just wanted to talk about the work that I'm doing right now.
Great. I'm really looking forward to hearing about it. So you are.
And I just want to mention, I'm not sure which, but this interview was conducted like at a conference or something like that, which is very common, niche market here. So when you're in a conference with a bunch of people that are into these topics, a lot of interviews take place. And I think Tere Joyce ran around the conference interviewing everybody she could. To her credit, I'd do the same thing.
Are working on a documentary about Kerry Cassidy and one of her secret space program disclosures, Captain Mark Richards.
Yes, I am. I wouldn't say, when I say the documentary's on Kerry Cassidy, no. Is she going to be included in this documentary? Very possible. Very possible. I think.
I'd say it's more than very possible. He's going to put some of these phone clips in at the very least, and I got to tell you, they're gold. And also, I hear once in a while people say things that are somewhat disparaging because Kevin Moore's been working on this documentary for a long time and he keeps adding to it, or I think most recently he wanted to hire actors to do recreations of some of the stuff or something. But last I talked to him, he's in the final stages of it. And I say kudos to him. It doesn't matter how long it takes you, because making a documentary is no easy project. And I give him a lot of credit for even making the attempt.
I don't know if we cannot not include her, because she's the reason why Captain Mark Richards is back out there as famous as he is in the kind of micro circuit of Project Camelot, right? No, Kerry, I don't think there would be a Mark Richards. I don't think Joanne Richards, his wife, would have been able to get as much publicity as what the notoriety of what Kerry's done for this man. She's made him the top whistleblower. And I know.
Yes, so it's important to note just right there, Kerry Cassidy, her top whistleblower, is a convicted murderer who's been in prison for 35 years. That's her top. That's the best that she's got. Great, Kerry. Great job. What a great journalist you are.
No idea when I was starting to do this documentary on Captain Mark Richards that the guy was was Kerry's top whistleblower.
I have seen a YouTube video of Captain Mark Richards. I think I saw one of the first videos that she did on him, and she would come out. She would talk about going into seeing him, that she couldn't put him on camera, and then she'd come out from memory. She would disclose the information about Captain Mark Richards by memory. And here we naive viewers are believing all of it. Do you?
Yeah. So those that don't know, I don't know if she's not allowed to take notes, which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why the prison officials would stop her from recording an interview with Mark Richards or taking notes. But she claims they won't let her take any notes. They won't let her record him. So she just asks him questions and remembers everything he said and then repeats it verbatim, which is problematic at best, because more than likely, considering Kerry Cassidy's ability to embellish and add fake facts, we've just seen it in this Mark McCandlish story. Nobody said that Mark McCandlish was murdered by dark magicians of the cabal. That was something she added on. So it's quite possible, even probable, that she does go there and talk to him, but then she just goes to a UFO conference and makes up a bunch of crap and says, he told me this.
I think that maybe there's a possibility that she never even saw Captain Mark Richards, and she's just like regurgitating her own fantasy or misinformation about what's going on. He's just a figurehead, a photo for people.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think she goes to see him. She's been to see him 10 times now. She's the only journalist that's been to see him. And he's been locked away for 36 years. Oh,
I'm sorry. It would be 37 years he's been in prison now then, because this is 2019. And certainly Mr. Moore is more informed of Mark Richards' prison stay than I am.
The murder of his friend Richard Alexandra Baldwin, along with his crime partner, Crossan Hoover. Now, the thing is, we as a viewing audience trust Kerry Cassidy that she's vetted these people. I never ever considered that Kerry doesn't vet, the people that she has as long-term guests on her show. I mean,
yeah, and I have to say, when I realized, I was one time very naive as well, and when I would hear a presenter interviewing someone who said they were a captain, or said they were an admiral, or said they were a physicist, or a biologist, or whatever they said they were, I naively assumed that the presenter or the interviewer had already vetted them and wouldn't be just letting them make false statements about their education or about their credentials. And I have to admit that, it was years ago when I started doing fact checking of these people, but I was shocked at how many UFO presenters, interviewers, show hosts don't vet anything about their guests. They just let their guests say that they're whatever. Kerry Cassidy famously has people on that say they're doctors that really aren't doctors. They order a doctorate degree from some degree mill and hang it on their wall. They never went to medical school, but they're calling themselves doctor, and she just lets them call themselves doctor. I think a good interviewer would look into the guests and say, hold on a minute, doctor, because I found your degree and it's not real. Why are you calling yourself a doctor? That's just me, though. I mean, everybody has their own style, but Kerry Cassidy's style is to just accept whatever garbage information people give her, as long as it fits her preconceived narrative of the way the aliens are working and the secret space program and the reptilian aliens that are in control of the universe and all this crap that she already believes. If somebody tells her a story that fits her narrative, she runs with it. She doesn't check anything.
Like yourself and myself, maybe, you know, if someone's coming on for an hour, what vetting are we going to do? Do you know what I mean? You know, if there's some inconsistencies in the story, maybe we'll pick them up in the interview. But unless it's complete bollocks, you know, we're there to give the airspace to the people and for them to talk about their work. I tell you what the documentary has done for me. The word discernment is just beaming out of me right now, and I want the documentary to be a discerning documentary for, I want to call it our community, the community, the community that I've been a part of since 2008 when I first took up radio broadcasting at Glamorgan University in Wales. And I was shocked. I was shocked to find out that when I interviewed Kerry Cassidy in Los Angeles back in June last year, I mentioned Mark Richards because previously I had interviewed Joanne Richards in 2013. Didn't think the story was very credible, but I thought, you know, it's got a lot of traction right now, so it's kind of in fashion back.
Yeah, and just to point out, these two have a running history right now. I believe that Kevin Moore calls her Crazy Kerry Cassidy, which is a term that many have adopted when referring to her. He coined that. And Kerry Cassidy is no fan of Kevin Moore right now. I've heard her make disparaging remarks about him on her videos many, many times. So, you know, just a note, these two have no love for each other. They're sort of arch nemesis, I would say, in a way, in a weird way.
And it definitely was more when I interviewed Kerry last year. And there was a guy on there that trolled me that basically would not leave me alone, a guy called Jeff, who basically, you know, had been trying to get the attention of someone for many years that this story was bogus. So once I'd done the interview with Kerry, I left Los Angeles, went to Contacts in the Desert. I was just losing faith being at Contacts in the Desert because I watched David Wilcock give a speech, I'd watched Corey Good and many other secret space program whistleblowers there, and I just knew that, you know, it was just like, this is just not right. Some of this stuff is just a load of crap, right? Mm-hmm. Or I didn't resonate with it at all. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I get this guy exploded on my Facebook page saying, "How dare you interview this lady? In a sense, you know, she mentioned me on that interview. You know, it was me that tried to contact you 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was." You know, blah, blah, blah. So this guy was a guy called Jeff, and I said to him, "Well, listen."
Yeah, and some of you, I think he might be referring to Geoff. Yeah.
Let's speak man to man over the phone. I'll ask, what are you talking about? About this Mark Richards isn't true. So anyway, we had a good conversation on the phone, and I decided that it was worth my time to leave Palm Desert Springs and head up to Paradise, where the Paradise Fires happened, where Jeff was based. I was also at the time.
Yeah, it's definitely Geoff that he's talking about here.
Recording a documentary on channeling, which is yet to be released. Again, that documentary will be my journey and a lot more discerning now I've done this documentary with Mark Richards. So I get there and he shows us links. We record an interview together and I take these links away back to the UK that I'd seen, and I was like, this is just not right. There's a backstory here on this guy, Mark Richards. There's a story called Pendragon. Why isn't this on Kerry Cassidy's channel? So
it's not on Kerry's channel because she does zero actual research. She just takes people's fake stories and lets them run with it. And then she injects her own stuff. Like once in a while, she'll interrupt them and go, "Well, I have psychic powers and I'm a precog. I see things before they happen and I astral travel." Yeah. Okay, Kerry.
I called her, and why don't we play back the audio recording that we did with her now, because she asked permission to record that conversation. I've not released it yet, and if you want to put it in this show, we can play it back now.
Yes.
Let's play that.
I don't know if my video's working. I don't think it is.
Actually, I'm not going to use video because we have a very low bandwidth here, so it's better
okay.
not to.
Let's just use the audio. That's fine then. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, sorry I kept missing you and everything else. That was my fault a little bit. I just got back to the UK yesterday, last night actually. So that was a long flight. Yes. So yeah, you're over in the UK then.
I am, yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, what I've been wanting to reach you for was just to let you know about a chap that I run into when I was over in San Francisco. So I was over at Contact in the Desert, and I just released my interview with yourself, and when I was at Contact, then this chap this chap got in contact with us by audio, by the phone. Eventually, once we swapped numbers and everything else, to tell me a story about this chap Mark Richards. Now, initially, I did not want to speak to him really, because I didn't want anything to do with it. Do you know what I mean? I've put my interview with you out, and it really, it's really not my business, to be honest with you. But doing this documentary on channeling,
yeah, it's gonna get good, friends.
one thing it's shown me is that I've had to show discernment just in that channeling documentary quite a bit, right? And I thought, well, if I'm going to apply it to that, then maybe I should apply it to this other, side as well, this UFO side that I'm into. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, go on then, I'll speak to him, and I did. And it was interesting what he had to say. This guy knew the son of a guy called Baldwin, the guy that was murdered in the case of Mark Richards. That's how he knew the son, not the family much. But anyway, so he's telling me this story over the phone, and he sends me a couple of links, and it was just interesting what was in what the links had to say. I'd never come across the murder before. I thought Mark Richards was, innocent. Did you know what I mean? Like probably you do as well.
You thought he was what? I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying I thought he was innocent. I mean, when I watched it,
He is actually innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kerry Cassidy claims that he's totally innocent of the murder. He was framed for it because he knew too much about the aliens.
Now, I'm going to record this if you don't mind.
Oh,
and
sure,
by the way,
sure.
You should turn your video off because it still looks like it's trying to put video on, which is dragging down the bandwidth.
Oh, hang on then.
So you have to actually hit your camera and turn it off, which is, when you click on your camera, it either has a slash through it, meaning it's off.
Yeah, it's got the slash through there. It's got the slash through there already. I checked it now.
Oh, that's odd. Okay, well, it seems, I guess we're having low bandwidth. All right, well, whatever. We can't do anything about it.
Let me just make sure. Let me just make sure.
You're Kevin Moore, and you're saying you interviewed me, and then you got contacted by some guy. And could you clarify who this guy is? Because what I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, it's up to you. If you want, if you don't want me to pass it on, I won't. But I would give it to Joanne, Mark's wife, so he sees what people are doing. Because obviously they have a legal case. They're trying to get Mark out of prison. If people are calling people associated with me and giving them, wrong information or whatever kind of information they're giving.
Yeah, and just to note, Mark Richards has been trying to get out of prison for quite some time. One of the big problems, however, is you are not going to get out on parole unless you admit what you did and show remorse. And Mark Richards and his wife and Kerry Cassidy are running around saying that he was framed by the government and he didn't do anything. He didn't take part in this murder. That doesn't sit well with parole boards, and so they won't let you out. So whatever Kerry Cassidy believes about his guilt or innocence, she's doing harm to even Mark Richards, because he's never going to get out of prison while he, his wife, and Kerry Cassidy are running around saying that he didn't do anything, he got framed, because he knew too much about aliens. The parole board's going to just deny him, let him rot in prison if he won't admit what he did 35 years ago was wrong and show remorse for it.
It can be very useful for them. So do you mind that, or would you rather I don't do that?
No, of course you can pass it on, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So if you could tell me again, who is this person that called you?
This is a guy called Jeff Reed.
Jeff Reeves?
Reed.
Reeve. Okay.
Reed. Yeah, Jeff Reed.
Okay. And then what was the gist of what he was saying again? I don't quite understand.
Sure. Well, again, I'll say it from, I'll answer it from this perspective, right? Before I just answer that, like I said to you, I mean, I've interviewed Joanne oh God, man, it was a few years ago now. Do you know what I mean? It was many moons ago. Was it 2013? It might have been. And I interviewed her because, well, I guess, you know, I knew it was a popular subject at the time. This was like years ago. I knew it was a popular subject, but I mean, there were some things in the story that didn't sit with me. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, hey, we don't believe in everything we're told, do we? But
no,
the main thing was, you know, that this man was, you know, had been innocently framed. And I think anyone watching or having seen your interviews with this guy would have felt the same way. And
no, I don't think anybody would. I saw her interviews with him and immediately thought, if he's a murderer, he's not credible. If he was convicted by a jury of his peers, chances are he is guilty. You know, and I looked into the case somewhat and was surprised that anybody would trust him, given what he is accused of and convicted of. By the way, the Sixth Sense helping out in the live chat. Great moderation. Thank you. July 16th, 1982, Richard Alexander Baldwin, 36, was murdered by Mark Richards and Crossan David Hoover. He was beaten with a baseball bat and stabbed with a knife and screwdriver in Marin County, California. Does that sound like somebody that you should trust when he starts telling you stories about aliens, Kerry Cassidy? Is that how dumb you are? Are you that dumb or that naive? It's one or the other. Or are you just don't care because you know he's telling a story that you can sell stupid people. It's one of those three, Kerry.
You know, that, I mean, I wasn't thinking of Mark Richards. Do you know what I mean? Much when we did the interview with yourself, but this was a chap that had contacted me before years ago when I released that first interview with Joanne. After the interview, he contacted. Well, I say contacted. We had a slight email exchange, but again, you know, I forgot about his email exchange. Loads of other things going on. You know, that's not my life. But when he recontacted me again while I was at Contact in the Desert, he was like, you know, this is the guy that sent you that original email. And I was like, oh, hang on, I do know you. And then it got into a bit of a heated argument because I really didn't want to know about it. Do you know what I mean? You know, unless he's got some really good evidence that this man's innocent, you can't go around and just, you know, saying that someone is guilty. I mean, you know, that doesn't work in my book. You have to, you know, be provable. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, I didn't want to get involved in it neither because, well, I'm making a documentary on channeling. I mean, this is, you know, I mean, it's stuff I cover this stuff, but it's not stuff I'm focused on right now.
Oh, but he would go on to focus on it plenty, interviewing everyone he could about Mark Richards, the murder case, and everything else. And I, for one, can't wait to see his documentary on it.
You know what I mean? But
sure.
What was interesting was he was telling me the story that, you know, and none of this can be backed up. None of this can be verified as such, this part of his story. But as a child, he knew the Baldwin, the son of Baldwin, the son of the chap that was murdered. So what's the guy that was murdered? What was his name? It was I haven't got it in front of me. It was, just bear with me. I'll just grab it. The guy that was murdered was Richard A. Baldwin, 36. So Richard A. Baldwin, 36, was the man that was murdered. And this guy knew that man's son. And this guy was also from that area as well. He was a kid at the time. So when that murder of Richard A. Baldwin took place, you know, it was made very well known to him that, you know, do you know that kid you was hanging around with? Well, that kid's father is the man that's been murdered. So, you know, you know, he grew up in that era, basically. Now, again, none of this is provable that he knew that child or that he was there.
Yeah, and it turns out that Geoff was bullshitting or perhaps bluffing because it turns out that that gentleman that got murdered had no children.
But what was interesting, what he sent through to me.
Sorry, friends. 1 second. 1 second here. If I don't have commercials on my show, I'm not playing somebody else's. And by the way, that's a commercial for Gaia TV. And I am not a fan. So let's get back to this. 1 second, friends. You know, I always forget that when there's a monetized video that I want to share portions of, I should just download it and share it locally so it won't have those. But I always forget to do that. So my apologies. Let's get back to the interview because it's about to really start heating up.
Was the 22 links on the actual murder case. And when I started going through the links, well, it was kind of obvious to me then that this murder really did take place, right? And it's such an old case that it's not a modern case. This was July 6, 1982. So it's, you know, it may seem not that long ago for some people, but actually that is a while ago. That is a while ago. And a couple of the people who were released recently, Hoover was one of the kids associated with Richard. Sorry, not Richard. I mean Mark. That was enticed by Mark to make the murder happen. He was released recently in 2007. So on Seattle Times and ABC News, I've also got the articles for those as well, where Richard's accomplices were released. It was actually a bit of a little famous case because this guy was a complete nutcase. Mark was in some respects because he wanted to set this new camera up in the Golden Gate area.
Yeah, Mark Richards was going to set up a new Camelot and was recruiting cult members. And much like Charles Manson, he sent them out to murder people. Great guy. Really trustworthy source, Kerry. Really.
I know it sounds crazy what I'm saying to you, but again, reading the court documents.
You're assuming that I know nothing about the case when I've done a lot of investigation. So
Right.
I know all about that. And actually,
Right.
he wasn't a nut. And he wasn't doing that, and the whole thing was manufactured. But it's, you know, I understand.
There are court documents stating he was doing exactly that, Kerry Cassidy. People testified under oath that he was doing exactly that, Kerry Cassidy. He wasn't doing that? Then why did people testify under oath that he indeed was doing those things? What kind of research did you do? Did you just discount or throw out everything that didn't support your pre-made hypothesis that he was framed by the deep state and the CIA? Hey, maybe it was a deep state asset like me, like you've accused me of being, Kerry Cassidy, that framed him for this murder. Sure, Kerry Cassidy.
And the perspective out there, and I understand the links and the things you've read. So what is you know, I guess kind of wanting you to cut to the chase because I don't have a lot of time. I'm packing to go to Barcelona, etc.
Sure.
So if you could, what new information was this person trying to provide?
Well, I never knew about if you knew about these links before, I don't think you that's not like out there as these links are out there and people can just find them. Most people go along with the story that Mark Richards is telling you, and they don't know about the opposing.
Hey, Kevin Moore, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but Tere Joyce just started a new channel, and I wanted to sort of show people some of her past amazing work. And this is one of my favorites, this interview that she did with you. And also, I think a lot of people haven't heard this tape, which I think is gold, of you confronting Kerry Cassidy about Mark Richards being a slimy murderer. I think it's gold, and thank you for doing this, and thank you for sharing it so that people can see what the quality of Kerry Cassidy's research is.
22 links or 23 links, as I'm telling you, that they won't know about.
No, it's all you have to do is do a search on the web. You can find this stuff.
I don't think most people are doing those searches. They'll just take it as that.
Well, that's their business.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens with everything I release.
they'll
I mean,
take
who
that as
could
that.
say what people investigate and what they take the time? I mean, it's dead easy to put a search term into Google and search.
Sure. I was one of those people that wouldn't have done that. I don't think. I don't know.
And I just want to say that he's being extremely nice to her, given the proof, the absolute proof that he has in the form of all these court documents, mainstream media stories about the other people involved in them. He has got a mountain of evidence that Kerry Cassidy is full of shit, but he's just too English polite to just, like ram it down her throat. So he's going to slow feed it to her, and it just gets better from here.
Why? I just wouldn't, just not something you do.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, fine.
Because it's like, it's so out there. The story it's so interesting. But what the interesting part about his backstory about in the court cases was he was so out there anyway. In the original court case, he had this. He wanted to be the new King Arthur and such, and put this new.
Yeah, this is not accurate, but nonetheless, whatever.
This is an
intelligence agency operation,
and that could be the truth.
It's going to have whatever details they decided to paint.
That could.
Oh, Kevin Moore, how do I contact you on Twitter? Let me see. At Kevin Moore. At Kevin Moore. Kevin Moore Show. There we go. I'm going to send you. I absolutely. Whoa! Look at this. This is an unexpected. I just joked at the beginning of the show, Kevin Moore, that you said before we'll do a show together, and I've been, but you're a very busy guy, so I am going to send you an invite right now in your Twitter DMs, and praise the last minute great guest. I would love to talk to you. So we're gonna do that. I'm going to send this to you right now. 1 second. 1 second, friends. I got to send this off to him because we don't want to miss this opportunity. I don't know when we'll get it again. There we go. The Kevin Moore Show. Okay. I'm going to DM you. Oh, it doesn't. DM me, Kevin, or how do I get this to you? Because your DMs are not open. How do I get the invitation to you? Or send me an email at. Here, 1 second. I'll put my banner up for my email address. Send me an email at truthseekershow@gmail.com. 1 second. I'm trying to find that. Truthseekershow@gmail.com. Here's my email, Kevin. I will check my email and send it right to you. Let me get into my email, or send me a DM on Twitter. It's at Stephen Cambion on Twitter, and I will get you the show invitation link. We would love to hear an update about this. We would absolutely love that, and it would be my pleasure to hear that. I'm going to continue in this conversation between you and Cassidy in the meantime, and hope that you reach out to me. Again, it's truthseekershow@gmail.com, or DM me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion. I have the link ready, copied, pasted, and ready to send to you. And I would love to hear an update on this. So yeah, I've sent the link. We're going to continue listening to this. Yes, out of mind. Thanks, everybody. I hear it, and I'm trying to get the link to him. Oh, wait a minute. Here, he's giving me the email address. I could do that. Kevin@thekevinmooreshow.com. All right, 1 second. Let me send it to you right now. Please bear with me. Is it .co.uk? I'm going to send it to both. One second. So I've sent it to. I have you in my email buffer, I guess. Kevin@themooreshow.co.uk, and I'm going to send it to the other one that you mentioned, Kevin@thekevinmooreshow.com. Boy, I really need a producer. That would be helpful, right? I got to jump through too many hoops doing this stuff by myself. Okay, 1 second. We're gonna send that over. There you go. So I've sent it, and we'll continue listening to You're confronting Kerry Cassidy in the meantime, and then hopefully, if all goes well, we'll get Kevin Moore on here to do an interview just to give us an update, not really an interview. I would really like that.
Be the truth, but what if that wasn't the truth and the opposite was true? Have you considered that?
Of course, anyone can entertain both sides of the story, but what I'm saying, Kevin, I'm trying to cut to the chase here. Are you bringing me new information? Are you just saying, go look at those links? I've already done that. So that would be the end of this conversation. If you have new information, if that guy has new information, then what is the new information? I
just want to say, listen to the arrogance of her, because Kevin Moore is talking about 23 links to information, and she's saying, I've already seen it all. How does she know she's already seen all of that information? I don't think that she's done any research on this Mark Richards at all. I don't think she's read the court documents even, let alone all the extra information that Kevin Moore has, right? Kevin Moore, if nothing else, is very thorough. And if he's convinced of something, it's based on his accumulated knowledge of the subject. And unlike Kerry Cassidy, who just, are you telling a cool story about aliens? Come on with me.
Well, I didn't know you knew about that. So you know about those links, right?
Well, for God's sake, I'm an investigative reporter. I'm interviewing some guy 8 times. I go to the trouble to go to prison. I mean, give me a little credit here. I do investigate my people and their sources, etc. So, I do as much due diligence as I find necessary. And yes, of course, I've investigated.
Yeah, she said she does investigate her sources. I want to know if she investigated the court-martialed child molester. That was her source. Did she know he was a court-martialed child molester? What about Sean David Morton? She believes that Sean David Morton, every one of her criminal friends that goes to prison, has gotten framed by the deep state. How come Kerry Cassidy has so many friends that are getting framed by the deep state, right? What about her former association with Bill Ryan? People can look into there's some shady stuff going on with Bill too, allegedly. But it is what it is. She associates with criminals, and then when they get busted and go to prison, or they're already in prison, she says they were framed by the deep state. Good for you, Kerry.
Get to the case.
But would you ever
actually, just so you know the background, I investigated the case before I was ever in Camelot.
Right. So you because you knew of Joanne back before then, yeah.
And I determined the guy was innocent, and that I wanted to interview him before I ever knew I was going to be an interviewer.
But
strangely enough.
But what if he wasn't?
Well, of course, what if he was?
Really, try it again.
I mean, that's always a possibility.
But if he wasn't,
you have to if he rely on your own.
But if he wasn't,
inner whatever kind of thing.
I want to stop for a second just to acknowledge and thank FGraph72 with a kind and generous $2 donations. And he says, starting a producer production aid fund. Yeah, I'll take any help that I can get. I'm trying to train my 5-year-old to run this stuff, but he's not doing well. I was yelling at him today, like, you're no help at all. You're worthless. I felt like my father. Does anybody remember when you used to help your dad work on the car? Because I do. And all I learned was I'm an idiot, I'm worthless, and I can't even shine a flashlight right. But yeah, we'll take all the help we can get here. Thank you very much for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. This is a viewer-supported show. Links in the About section here of how to support us. Throw us a couple of bucks, or there's that money sign down in the live chat if you want to throw us a couple of bucks. Or the place to join us on Patreon is right down in the description box of this video. Let's keep going with this because it's going to get heated.
Sure. But
I mean, I can't tell you what to think. I don't want to tell you what to think. But making a call to me, you're claiming this guy calls you. Did the guy call you just to direct you to some investigation that you could do on your own that, any regular person can just do? Or did he give you new information?
Well, I never knew about any of it. So to me, it was new information.
She's getting pissed.
Yeah. And I was going up to the Irons Institute to do a bit of filming for the documentary I was making. So he was only a couple of hours beyond that. So I did a little interview with him just to film him. And to me, it was all.
Rodrigo, are you talking about which email? Because if you're emailing me, it should be at truthseekershow@gmail.com. Are you talking about my old midnight hour email? Because I didn't get any email from you. I would be, I could check. And people are mentioning that the Discord server link is invalid. I would try it again because I just used it today and it's working, near as I can tell. Otherwise, I'll have to look into that after the show is over because I'm about as multitasked as I could be right about now.
Well, yeah, to me, it was all new news. But obviously, as you're saying here, this is all news that you've covered before. To me, the thing was, right, well, if he wasn't innocent and he had actually done these, then him trying to create this coup would have been just as crazy as the information he's bringing out now. What if he is not telling the truth? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, what if he wasn't? I mean, duh. This is, it's just like that's true of any case. All I can tell you is, I've sat with the man for hours on end. I evaluated him based on my intuition and my investigation prior to every meeting with him. I've spent hours with his wife as well. I mean, a person has to make their own evaluation, as I said. Now, of course, there are going to be people who are supporting the family of the murderers. And keep in mind that Mark is supposed to be, of all things, the mastermind, which is complete absurdity, of two people who did the murder. He didn't do the murder anyway, from the point of view of the state.
No.
Yeah. He is not the person who hit the guy with bats and knives and, beat him and bludgeoned him and stabbed him to death. He's the guy who sent the people to do it. And it's been proven in a court of law.
He never put the screwdriver through the heart. He never put
you believe that this concocted story, and it's just the whole thing is ludicrous. Fine, if it doesn't matter what you can believe, whatever you want, but for the purposes of this phone call, I guess what you're doing is you're letting me know that you've done an interview with some guy who knew the son of the guy that was murdered. Is that correct?
That's exactly who it was. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So he's not exactly that close to the situation.
Not at all.
And he's also somebody who's coming forward years later to suddenly try to contact you. Now, it's interesting that he's trying to contact you, and you said you interviewed Joanne, and he did the same thing then. So then you have to ask yourself, is this guy a paid informant? Is he working for the CIA? There's all kinds of reasons why a person comes forward in this way to try to bring.
Just like in my case, when I completely busted her fake stories on Mark McCandlish, I'm suddenly a deep state asset. Do you hear what she's saying? Anybody that disagrees with her must be a paid disinformation agent, or in my case, a deep state asset sent to throw people off about the truth about aliens, right? Yeah. She says this all the time. Anybody that disagrees with her must be a CIA plant, right?
Bring a journalist such as yourself into one direction or another. You can believe him, and it's fine if you did an interview. I guess thanks for letting me know. Not that it matters too terribly much to me, but
yeah, it doesn't matter to me that I'm peddling a fake story from a murderer and somebody's letting me know about that. It doesn't matter to her. And by the way, Rodrigo, I put the email address up on the screen. If you have something to email me, I'd be happy to hear from you. And I check that email many times a day. So generally, I don't miss messages from that email. There we go.
If you think I'm going to change my point of view because this guy is suddenly coming forward to say, look at these links that have been out there for 20 years or 30 years,
absolutely,
it's not important to me.
No, absolutely. You cannot just judge a story just on one person's angle. That's absolutely what it was for me was the 23 plus websites archive information about the case. That's what it was like. They are. So I thought to myself, well, not all of this can be implanted CIA information on these sites. This looks like a very genuine kind of backstory on this what this guy was up to.
Listen to Kevin Moore coming at her with like logic and reason, right, and discernment and like critical thinking skills that she completely and totally doesn't understand.
And his accomplices as well. Now, of course, he never committed the murder, but he was the one that egged these 17-year-olds on at the time. That's what they're saying. He was the one that brainwashed them in a sense. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Okay, fine. I agree.
But the thing is, I mean, most of the people that took part in this case, the superintendent and other people, are dead, right? Not dead or dying, or they're not around, or they're just they've they're now.
That's convenient.
Yeah. Well, it is and it ain't, but there are other people that could be traced into this case. If you put the homework in, you would find that you could really trace the real people involved in this case. But whether it's the 2007 release of Hoover or it's other people, you would.
Okay, let me ask you this, Kevin, because obviously this guy had nothing new to add.
No.
Have you ever investigated a false flag? No, just wait 1 second. Have you ever investigated a false flag? Do you know what I mean when I say a false flag?
I know what you mean by a false flag, yeah. I know what you mean by a false flag.
Okay, have you ever tried to investigate one?
Well, let me ask you this. Would you put these links out in a new video just to say, look, guys, here's this case.
No, because I don't. No, that's not what I do. I have no interest in that.
Why?
I mean, I'm not a reporter trying to investigate his murder case.
But then, if I was covering,
she doesn't care about the murder case. She just cares about the alien. She doesn't care about the murder case. She only cares about the alien stories that she could sell. Great, Kerry.
Came to me with you knew about the links before. You knew about the 23 plus links online anyway.
It's out in the public domain. You can investigate the case anytime you want.
Why wouldn't you just have the opposing there in the video to say, look, here's what he's saying?
No, actually, that's not what my job is. I mean, everyone does what they want to do about.
Her job is not to report to people the facts. It's just to report to people the fake alien stories that she wants to sell.
These things. My job is, and our discussions are not about a murder for which he was framed over 30 years ago. And, even at this time, he, again, as the mastermind, there's a...
and I would like to invite Kerry Cassidy, show us the evidence that he was framed. What evidence do you have that he was framed? Other than your own statement and his own belief, right? You know how many guys that I know that are in prison that claim that they're innocent or were framed? It doesn't make it true unless they have evidence. Kerry Cassidy has no evidence this man was framed.
The law on the books right now saying that somebody should be released from prison if they were a supposed mastermind of a murder because they were not the one who did it. And so that Mark is actually way beyond his stay in prison for any kind of involvement, if you want to call it that, in this situation. Well, but in my view, he's completely innocent. He was off the planet when the fucking murder happened.
Well, if that's the truth. Yeah, but if that's...
and pardon me for the language. Do you hear what you just said? He couldn't have murdered that guy because he was off the planet fighting aliens in space when this happened. That's Mark Richards' story, and he's sticking to it. And so is Kerry Cassidy.
That's the truth. If he was, if that's the truth.
Of the secret space. Look, if you don't understand, I mean, I have so much evidence of the way this works. Have you ever looked at Obama's birth certificate? I mean, you really got to get a grip.
She's on her own website.
This is a whole different way of looking at reality. The false flags, the reason I ask you about false flags is that if you investigate false flags, you begin to go down a rabbit hole, which is unbelievable, of people who are lying about people being killed. I mean, listen to my interviews with James Fetzer. Ask yourself why YouTube doesn't want those interviews out there in the public.
Because Kerry Cassidy was spreading medical disinformation with an irresponsible, stupid guest that wasn't even a real doctor. That's why YouTube wanted them off of YouTube. That's why your channel got obliterated, because you let fake people with no credentials come on your show and give fake information out. Conspiracy land nonsense.
They've deleted them off my site.
Good.
He's an ex-Marine. He's a tenured professor for zillions of years. He's written over 10 books. He's a heavy-duty investigator, a very respectable man, and he investigates in minutia every false flag that has happened in the United States. He's obsessed with it. And so what you really have to do is look at the false flags, start to see how...
See, this is her argument. Oh, I got you, Kevin Moore, you caught me selling a completely, totally fake murderer as a secret space program insider. You caught me dead to rights using a convicted murderer as a source about space alien Buck Rogers fantasy stories. well, Kevin, it's not my fault I did that. You have to learn about false flags. I mean, this is stupid. It's a stupid argument, Kerry Cassidy. One of these things is not like the other.
Evidence can be manufactured by the secret government, by law enforcement under orders from higher ups, etc., and disappeared, etc. You really have to go down that road. It's a fascinating journey, and I encourage you to take it. I don't have time right now to educate you as to all the steps.
Listen
but
to
I can
her.
encourage you to watch
I don't
my
have
channel.
time to educate you, Kevin Moore. Meanwhile, Kevin Moore is the guy that has the facts and the evidence, and she doesn't have time to educate him because he's just got facts and evidence, and she's got nothing.
Spetzer interview, which is no longer on YouTube. It is now on Steemit and also on what is this called? BitChute. So if you just go to BitChute, you put in Project Camelot, you should find it, no problem. You know, this is the reality. Manufactured evidence is so common. You know, look at Pearl Harbor. That was a fucking false flag.
Again, I apologize for her language.
And if you don't know this stuff, you need to get educated.
And by the way, AI algorithm gods, I'm not saying I agree with that statement. I don't know, have not thoroughly investigated. This is Kerry Cassidy making these statements, and we're kind of making fun of her lack of evidence, lack of knowledge. Please find context. AI algorithm gods. In Google's name we pray. Do not strike us down. Amen. All I can do is say a prayer to the AI algorithm.
Tompkin, this was a false flag.
Yeah. All right, now that one I agree with her on. All right, for once I agree with Kerry Cassidy. Of course there's such things as false flags, but her conspiracy mind sees everything as a false flag. The
governments knew. They set it up.
Yeah,
they staged it.
I wouldn't be absolutely surprised in some of those cases that they were staged or things that happen on purpose to let things happen.
This is what goes on. So if you don't want to believe, if you want to believe evidence that you see in front of you that these people think they're giving you and so, it doesn't. It's your choice. You know, you have to rely on your intuition. You have to rely on your ability to investigate. If you think that I should be putting those links on my website, I appreciate your opinion, but I'm not doing it, okay? Because I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, why should she give her viewers actual facts or actual evidence when she could just tell them fantastical stories about reptilian aliens and this guy who teleports out of his prison cell to save Earth every night? Sure, Kerry, why put the actual evidence on your website that Kevin Moore is offering you?
But then the only thing me and you don't know, the thing that we don't know, right, is was a Richard A. Baldwin of 36, did he really exist? And was his life taken? That's what
no,
we don't
I mean,
know.
the guy died. I mean, we're not questioning that there was a murder. It was in the news and everything, and apparently that much happened. Was true.
The murder happened, right? So who did kill him? Who did kill him?
And claim that I masterminded it. How can I counter
this is
that?
Great.
But then,
seriously,
but then,
it's a method of the mind. You're talking about a man who didn't come with any kind of instrument, show up on the scene or anything. He was supposed to have masterminded.
And
and it was proven in a court of law that he wound up some 17-year-old kids and sent them out with a baseball bat and a knife and other weapons to bludgeon and stab a man to death. Over what? Over money. And not very much of it either. Shows what kind of person he is. But Kerry Cassidy's going to run with his story, and her defense is he didn't stab the person, he didn't hit and bludgeon anybody to death with a baseball bat. No, but he manipulated children to do it for him, and he was found guilty of it in a court of law. Whether you like that or not, Kerry, that is the truth.
That is a mental. Did David Koresh mastermind whatever that was called? Waco, are these people responsible? Did Jesus persuade people of things, or did he verbally did you record his voice? Did he actually write in the Bible those words?
Well, we don't know any of that, but we're talking about this particular case.
This is what we're talking about. Think about it. You're talking about, it's basically, when you reduce it all down, it's fucking word of mouth. There's nothing that can prove it.
Absolutely not. I don't.
Oh my God.
This murder victim, I can't prove a thing. I wasn't there at all. No, none of us were.
It's not about whether you were there. I'm saying what he was accused of was masterminding a murder. And I'm saying to you, you can read all the evidence you want of the murder, but you cannot prove that those 17-year-olds were brain controlled by him. Who else could brain control and who's very likely to mind control people?
Oh, she's gonna blame the CIA. I know it.
Well, hello, the Nazis. Well, hello, the people that took over mind control technology from the Nazis, which is the secret government.
But
well, hello.
He had this idea.
Wow, she's blaming the Nazis, the secret government. They did it, not Mark Richards.
Richards an individual, or is it the state? You put your allegiance with the state in this conversation, certainly. And, all I'm saying to you is that's not my point of view. I see way beyond that. And I've got proofs for so many years, and it's just ridiculous. All I can tell you is look at Obama's birth certificate and ask yourself, that fucking guy was president of the United States.
I apologize for her language again. Yeah, it's worthy of mention that Kerry Cassidy was a huge Trump supporter and a birther, right? Shows where her mind is, right? And it is what it is. She believes that, I don't know, Obama made up his birth certificate. He was born in Kenya, not in this country, and this and that.
And the lies are just so plentiful. It's unbelievable. So, get a grip. This is the reality we live in. I didn't create it, but I can tell you that if you want to believe the evidence that this man is showing you, that's already very much in the public domain and has been for 30 God knows how many years, do so. It's all right. If you want to put it on your website, if you want to put all the links for people, you've done an interview with me, which is not very nice because it was visually horrible.
I would prefer a nicer term.
I think my information was good and clear. I mean, I don't encourage people to think what I want them to think.
Horrible.
I want them to think for themselves.
Yes,
but
I'm
not, on the other hand,
please no
I am
cursing
not
in the
going
live chat.
to become, a worker for the state and post their bullshit. I'm not going on to mainstream news and post their lies. I mean, I'll post what I feel is the closest thing to the truth and allow people to decide for themselves.
Okay, so the closest thing she has to the truth came to her from, let's see, a convicted murderer, a court-martialed child molester, a fraudster in the form of Sean David Morton, and all these other people with fake doctorate degrees that aren't real doctors. Yeah. That's where she's getting her truth from, that she's deciding to share with people. Great.
If they want to investigate further, and I always encourage people to do that, then so be it, and that's great. And if they
yeah, Kerry, you encouraged me to investigate further when you ran a fake story about the tragic death of somebody from the UFO community recently, and I found out that you were completely and totally making up fake facts, and I got the real facts. Kind of like Kevin Moore did in this case. There's a proven track record of you telling fake stories about aliens and whatever, and people showing the real evidence. And then you get pissy like you did with Kevin here and like you did with me recently, because now I'm a deep state asset, according to Kerry Cassidy.
You want to make decisions one way or the other, that's great too. You want to decide whether Jesus really walked on the earth and you want to investigate it, do so. Investigate whatever you like. My point here is that the state manufactures evidence like you would not believe, and I've been doing this for 12 and a half years.
Me
and
neither,
I've
Aaron.
become
I have no
more
idea.
certain of this rather than less.
Yeah,
You have to make your own decisions.
I don't. And
she
I know
has
you got
no
me going out, and I
defense.
don't
That's
disagree with
why.
you that the state does manufacture bullshit. Absolutely, but I don't know. Maybe it's my intuition. Maybe that's alarming here. But he did talk about he wanted to isolate a part of Marine County and transform it into the model of Camelot. I mean,
I really
I don't know.
hope this
That
guy's
sounds kind of benign to
kidding
me.
again.
What's the model of Camelot? I mean, you know what? Kennedy and Jackie were known for return to Camelot.
Oh, now she's going to make these ridiculous claims that she's like from the bloodline of Camelot or Guinevere, and Bill Ryan is from the bloodline of King Arthur. Oh, it's priceless. Yeah.
So
what are you going to do about that?
So
accuse them of something too?
Well. No, they've not murdered anyone.
Camelot.
Yeah.
What do you want to accuse me of? I as far as people could say, I'm fucking crazy. I think I'm the reincarnation of Guinevere. What are you going to do about that? I sound fucking crazy. I can tell
Yes,
you
you do, honey.
that Bill Ryan,
And I apologize for her language,
comes from the Arthurian bloodline, according to Illuminati, that we've got proof of that. Okay.
She's got proof that the Illuminati say that Bill Ryan comes from the bloodline of King Arthur. Wow.
You know, he's O negative. What do you want to do with that? You want to say we're crazy?
A lot of people are O negative. I can't stand people that use that as some kind of proof that they're alien hybrids or they're special. You're not special. You just have a rare blood type. And it's not even that rare considering the population of the planet that has that blood type, Kerry.
Is he?
No.
Is he really a descendant of the Arthurian bloodline? He's been told by several psychics he is. You know, that's my intuitive take. He doesn't claim it.
Okay, so psychics said he was, so it must be true. That's her proof. That's her evidence. Some psychics said it. It must be true.
He doesn't even like hearing that.
But he's
you
not
know,
murdered.
what do you want
He's
to do
not-
with this stuff? It sounds outlandish. It sounds like we're
course.
all fucking crazy.
Of course.
And if you want to come to that conclusion, you're very welcome to do so.
Oh, I mean, listen, I've done a documentary on channeling. I mean, I'd be the first to say all that. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely.
Right. So,
You
I
know,
mean, you know, I'm sorry
but
to be
but
abrupt with you,
I don't have a background of, you know, anything bad in my background. I haven't been arrested for anything, and nor have I ever been done for murder. That's really different.
Yeah. Hey, Kerry, I never murdered anybody though. Okay. That's the difference. Let's see what she says now.
The only difference.
Well, I mean, you know, with unreason, people can be accused of anything and framed for anything. It's astonishing the number of people who have so-called suicided themselves, shooting themselves in the head several times. You know, that's a physical impossibility.
Agreed, Aaron. Yeah, that
I
one
mean,
too.
these things
Absolutely.
are in the
And
news.
I would agree with you.
I
would agree with you with what you're saying. I would agree with you with what you're saying.
Where do you draw the line? Seriously.
Well, that's
You
the thing.
just have to look at the evidence. If it resonates with you, you know, Kevin, you know, I can't.
I'm going to check in with our analytics here because I think that I missed a super chat, and we call out every single super chat that we get here, and I don't ever want to miss one. So I apologize if I did. I'm going to check in with that just to make sure. Yeah, Rogue Status with a kind and generous super chat donation of $5. Thank you, Rogue Status. Fellow Philadelphian, someday I'm going to have you come and visit here, Rogue Status. Maybe you should come and co-host a show with me. That would be fun. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And one other second while I check in and see what's dinging. One second. I got to learn to shut off certain message apps during a show because I think it's something important. Yeah, and it's not. So 1 second, friends.
I can't think for
Let's
you.
get back
All I
to
can
this.
tell you is, you know, I've gone down that rabbit hole. I've made my decision and I've done my interviews. If you want to believe that this stuff is not true and you want to put out the other side, you know, go right ahead. It's fine.
But I'm go on. Okay. Well,
He's getting tongue-tied because she just keeps making excuses, and he's trying to explain his point, which is you can't use a convicted murderer as a source, but she is.
I'm not looking at creating something that's damaging or hurtful towards anyone. I'm just saying, have we considered this? That's my point. That's only my point.
I know, but you know, quite frankly, I'm going to appreciate your input,
And
okay?
Shirashi
And
with a
appreciate
kind
your
and generous
sort of
donation
active
of
conscience, if
$10.
you want to call it that, where you're calling me because you think you came across.
Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. We truly do appreciate it. Thank you very much. You have my gratitude. I have an attitude of gratitude about everybody that's helping me to continue to make this show possible. Every dollar does help. There's links in the About section or in the description of the video for how you can support us. Thank you very much, Ian Shirasi, longtime supporter of the show, who is continuing to support the show, and I'm happy to see that. I'm glad that you still like me.
Across something that I haven't, but as it happens, you haven't. Okay. Now, had this person had something to add to this beyond sending you to links, you know, then I would listen. But I probably, you know, he could easily be working for the state.
He's Geoff. You heard it here first, friends. Geoff from Paradise, California, is working for the deep state. That's what it is.
Easily, it's absolutely mind-boggling. On the other hand, he could just be somebody who's emotionally involved and thinks he
I think
knows
he's
the truth,
I think he's emotionally involved because he knew the young man. I think that's
Fine.
yeah.
Fine. Have you ever seen the way how emotionally involved the Ku Klux Klan gets when they go after somebody in the South? I mean, seriously, all I can tell you is,
Why is she even talking about the Ku
unbelievable.
Klux Klan? What does that have to do with anything? Is she trying to ascribe the, I don't know.
Unbelievable, this stuff. I mean,
But what? Can I ask you one final thing? What if in the future the family members were found, and the detectives and everything, and they actually say, listen, that was my uncle, that was my ex-husband, and that really happened.
Nobody's denying that there are family members of the individuals that are alive today. Nobody's denying that those people exist.
But then what you're saying is that Richard was off planet and he had nothing to do with it, basically. Yeah.
He couldn't have taken part in a murder. He was on another planet at the time. I want to see him bring that defense in front of a judge and a jury.
Considering he didn't actually do the murder, it's perfectly in keeping for him. Maybe he was, I don't know, in Antarctica for all we know. I mean, really.
Yeah, he was at a secret base in Antarctica. Sure, Kerry.
Where does if he was the supposed mastermind, all of that would have taken place before they did the act.
Yes,
right?
he was off
So
planet.
the day of the murder, he could have been anywhere on the planet or off the planet. He could have been under the ocean. It doesn't matter. He was supposedly the mental, person
what if he
put them up to it mentally.
And what if?
Right?
Okay, but what if is? I'm always a what if, right? What if he actually
Welcome V.
and he's fooled you? What would you feel then in the future that he's fooled you? I mean, what if? Just what if?
I'm not worried about it. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
I made my decision. It's like a lot of decisions you make in life. You make them. You lay your bets where you will. My whole career is based on people like this. He's not the only person I'm dealing with.
The only one.
She just admitted that her whole career is based on people like this Mark Richards, a murderer, which is somewhat true because for some reason, a lot of Kerry Cassidy's sources, especially about alien stories, are criminals, are actual convicted criminals.
Oh, that could be a what if. No, true.
I've got so many whistleblowers, some of, in front of the camera, some who never did come in front of the camera. And, I mean, you really, it's not served to you in a silver platter, the truth. It's a wall,
it's definitely her. Mirrors, she won't dispute that it's her.
There are going to be people that can convince you one way or the other. And it can all, you must have seen watch movies, seen books where it's just you think you know one thing and then it completely reverses itself. This is the name of the game. Sure. You must make your own decisions. And and basically I can't help you
Sean
with that.
David Morton is
I do what I do.
He's a criminal.
You can evaluate the information he puts out. There has been a guy, if you want to talk to him, I don't know if you saw my interview with him. His name is Julian Salt. I believe that's his name. I met with him here in Britain. He is a Brit. He investigated a lot of Mark's claims, literally one by one, and found they were all correct. So you can go talk to that person, for example, if you are really in a state.
How do you investigate this guy claiming that he teleports out of his jail cell? Do you hear her statement? Well, I know an investigator that investigated Mark's claims and found them to be all correct. Here's a guy who's been in prison for 35 years claiming that aliens or some secret galactic council are teleporting him out of his jail cell so that he could go fight in the secret space wars against the reptilian aliens. How are you verifying that as being real, Kerry? How is any investigator supposed to verify that as being real? But she makes these statements trying to prove her point, like, I got the goods. Yeah, this is definitely true. Okay.
For this situation. There's ways to investigate,
And by the way, she didn't give the investigator's name or anything. She just, saying it doesn't make it. Could be one of her imaginary friends for all we know.
Both sides of the question.
Well, that's something that I've got to consider. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm just like, well, you know, I think there's truth out there. This is my take on it right now, especially after being at Contact in the Desert and Alien Con. There's truth out there.
Yeah,
but
you know, Contact in the Desert is a fucking can of worms. A lot of those people are mind controlled. They're lying through their teeth. They're not being honest. And I can go right down the list of speakers and tell
And
you.
a hallmark of a good UFO con artist is, oh, those other guys are telling fairy tales and tall tales and fake stories, but not me. I'm a credible researcher. Yeah, sure.
Who's lying?
I
who's
was.
not.
I was.
I
Gonna
mean,
say,
you know,
yeah.
if you're using that as a reference
No,
for some kind of
no. I'm just.
logical thought.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, I was.
And I got to say, what a nice guy Kevin Moore is, because listen to her talk him down, say that she doesn't have time to educate him. She's talking to him like he's some, you know, petulant school child, and she's the high and mighty teacher that knows everything or something. And he is handling it very well. I wouldn't have handled this that well. I would have been screaming at her by now. But to his credit, Kevin Moore is keeping his calm and his composure, and he's being very polite to her in the face of all these insults she keeps flinging his way.
I was going to say to you that going to these places, there's about 20% of truth, if that, and 80% bollocks, if that. 20% is true.
Fine.
Yeah. I think there's so much disinformation in the UFO field. So much. It's ripped apart by disinformation.
I think he's waiting till we're done listening to this.
And
Yeah, I think, you know, what's
problem.
funny? I just did an interview, or they did an interview with me here in England with this woman who, her name is Carolyn Stevens. She was a campaigner for Brexit. She comes from a completely different walk of life than I do. We did it live with Miles. It's on my website. It's on my YouTube channel. It's the first interview, the most recent one. You know, you can watch it. You can see how our worlds,
yes, I would.
Completely opposite worlds come together. And what we both find is lies like you would not believe, coming from the top echelons of so-called respectability and power. And so if you want to say ufology is full of lies, I have to say, take a look at your MPs. Take a look. Do you know, she gave me a statistic. It was something like 162 MPs have all been convicted sex offenders.
Well,
yeah, listen to her. She really doesn't like sex offenders, but she's okay with using sex offenders when they're telling her alien stories that she could sell.
I don't know if that's true. I'd be careful.
It's in your press. Look it up.
I don't know if that's true.
Now look it up, because that's a statistic you can check.
Yeah,
okay,
I don't think
either they are or they aren't, and she's not lying. So, you know, she ran for office. She ran to become an MP herself. Yeah. She's completely lodged in the mainstream, you know, and her stuff is all out there. So all I'm saying to you is, you know, you want to accuse ufology of lies. Hollywood is full of lies. I worked in entertainment for 20 years.
Of course it is. They're all full of lies. Of course it is.
It's, you know, why target one
yeah,
area?
Murderers
I'm not.
Scientists lie on a regular basis because they can't face the truth.
The only reason I'm talking,
our scientists have been lying to the public, and if we get into religion, then you're really over.
I'm not targeting ufology. It's just a field that I had a bit of an appreciation and was in with the talk show that I was doing, and that's why I'm mentioning it. And going and seeing these things in person, you realize just how much crap there is out there, and it's difficult to tell the crap from the good stuff. Very difficult for people.
Absolutely.
I'll disagree with Kevin Moore. I don't think it's that difficult. You just do some fact checking when people start talking, and it becomes very evident who's telling fairy tales and who's got some real information that's worthy of listening to.
Yeah.
And, you know, people are constantly accusing me of all kinds of things. It's unbelievable. Look, what can I tell you?
Nothing.
You know,
nothing. Our conversation is done here. No, nothing. You've got. You're happy where you're at, and I've just discovered this a few weeks ago, and it just shook my world a little bit that something as big as that Mark Richards story might not be what it seems to be on the front, and that's a difficult one to swallow when you didn't know anything about the backstory, but. And I can see why you kept the backstory out of there. So
no politician lies, Dustin.
Would come
Politicians
up
never lie or make shit
the
up.
Information that he's giving out, but I guess it wobbles your world a little bit when you know that actually, you know what, this guy's got mental health issues in the past, So why are those mental health issues not there now? That's the problem. So yeah.
That's an assumption.
It is, and only based on the court cases as well, But I think some of the things he mentions and talks about, I think when I interviewed Joanna about years ago, I mean many moons ago, I just thought, God, this is so far fetched. Some of this stuff, what is true in some of this stuff? Is it? Because the one thing Contact in the Desert taught me is that when you get out of that Contact,
Yeah, we've got an international audience right now. I'm happy about that.
Worlds, no one knows about these things.
Scotland, America, Portugal, Spain, Canada, Mexico, and Jerusalem, and probably Australia.
Such a small community.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is you can talk to Joanne.
Mark Richards sharing the court documents.
You can sign up to visit Mark in prison if you want to talk to the real man. If you really think you're going to investigate something, you should go to the source, right? So, and you should evaluate his personality based on that. I wish I had a camera when I was interviewing him. You really have to decide. If you think this man has mental issues, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's all I can tell you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because nobody with mental issues, murders people, right? He doesn't have any mental issues.
Well, maybe that's
so believe the court documents if you will. But what we find is courts are full of lies. Judges are lies. They're pedophiles. They're everything.
Yeah, what is her fascination with pedophiles? She is obsessed with pedophiles, pedophile rings, the mole children, right? Sex offenders. But yet she'll use sex offenders if they're telling her alien stories that she could sell.
Under the sun, the last thing they are is honest. And our legal system is rife with people that are in prison who didn't do anything wrong.
And some of those cases actually do exist.
Cool, I would like that. I'm a rocket guy. I love rockets and SpaceX and NASA.
This is, it's a can of worms, but I guess
I understand.
enough time. I think you understand where I'm coming from.
I totally do.
I don't even feel it necessary to defend my side. I do what I do. You have to pick and choose your battles, so to speak. You have to pick and choose the things you're going to investigate. I investigate the secret space program, the Illuminati, and so on. What I don't do is I don't go back into the past and spend my time investigating murder cases that people are accused of.
Why should she investigate the murder case this guy is accused of if she can spend her time selling his alien stories? That makes sense.
Masterminding at the moment. And I had to make my evaluation a long time ago, actually, because I did it actually before Camelot.
Yeah, you said that,
I came across, I investigated the case, I read about the case. It's actually a very distasteful case, but there's plenty of information out about it. And the two young men who were involved in it, who, were really demented in their heads. And, you have to deal with that.
One's free now. I think one's been freed. I think Hoover, I think Cosine, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, because he admitted what he did and showed remorse, and he got out on parole. Unlike Mark Richards, who claims that he was on another planet when the murder took place, so he couldn't have done it or had any involvement in it. Sure, Mark Richards. Sure, Kerry Cassidy.
He's been freed now, I think. I think he has.
Yeah, isn't politics lovely? It's always the way.
Yeah. So, okay, right. Well, I'll let you know what I'm going to do, and maybe I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I never went to him. This guy came to me. It wasn't like I was even looking at this, but it was just interesting when.
Yeah, I get it. You don't have to let me know what you're going to do. Just do whatever you do. It doesn't matter to me, to be honest. It really doesn't.
Yeah, definitely projecting.
You can do what you do. You're an independent agent. And if you want to let Joanne know that, as a journalist, you're going to do something, whatever, that's fine too. You have
Trust
contact
the plan,
with her, I'm sure. If you don't, if you need her email address, I'll send it to you. But that's, it's really neither here nor there what you've said to me in this conversation, because it's not anything I'm not aware of and have dealt with, not just to do with this case, but so many others. It's unbelievable.
Could be.
Okay. All right.
So look, you take care, and
you too.
Maybe we'll talk again in the future.
Yeah, maybe we will. Okay. Thanks for your time, Kerry.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Oh, this was gold, friends. This was gold.
So you just heard there the conversation
we've had with Kerry Cassidy. And as you can tell in that conversation, she doesn't care about discernment. She doesn't care that there's backlinks to the story. She believes that this man was set up and framed for the murder, and that all the court case was put in by the deep state, and that really, you know, this man is who he says he is. But of course he's not, because as soon as I started investigating the case, the next day after that phone conversation, I text Kerry and I said, "There's a documentary here. You know, we've got a murder."
Oh, too bad for Kerry Cassidy that Kevin Moore, who is an excellent researcher, is going to make an entire documentary proving what bullshit Mark Richards is, and make Kerry Cassidy look stupid for running around peddling his fake alien space soldier stories for years.
We've got ufology, and we've got, you know, the secret space program as well, all in one. I mean, that's just, you know, insane to have that. So then I turned to Jeff and I said to him, "Look, this interview that we did together, is it going to happen?" He was a bit upset about it, but then I said, "Let's do a documentary." And from there, we started making a well, I did the research. Jeff would just listen back to all the evidence that I was collecting. I recorded all my conversations with everyone. Some of them I shouldn't have done that, but it was for research. It wasn't supposed to be distributed anywhere else. It was just for this project.
Yeah, and by the way, recording calls is something that is a valuable tool, especially in one-party consent states. What does that mean? That means if I'm investigating something and I'm calling somebody in a one-party consent state, that means only I have to consent to the recording. I'm recording it so that I have it, so that I can refer back to it.
And I then went to Marin County in, I want to say, September last year, and started the first half of the taping. I got back and I realized I'd, you know, missed out quite a bit of stuff, and I've come back now to refilm that stuff. And there's so much in between that we could talk about, but
Sure.
None of this is true. Captain Mark Richards is not a captain. I even went down to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, and his wife Joanne has laid a plaque there with a number of other plaques where he's got his father, the Major Ellis Richards, who was in the Air Force, and then underneath him or above him, which this will be in the documentary, there's Captain Mark Richards.
Yeah, he was never a captain or in the military, apparently.
And you know, everything that this man's doing, all the writings that he's doing, it's so cleverly set up. I mean, he's got a publishing company set up by his wife, so he's got direct access to send in all the publications he wants to make these reports. He never puts his names on the reports. It's always hands off. Kerry goes there, but he could soon turn around and say, "I never said those things I said to Kerry that she's put out on that YouTube channel. I never told Joanne, my wife, to go to the UFO conferences and put my stuff out there. You know, I asked him to come on this documentary. He said no. I asked him to come on the phone lines. He said no. It wasn't going to happen. He was too busy. Not enough time in prison."
Mm-hmm.
Then of course, you know, I then contact his crime partner, Crossan Hoover, who was the 17-year-old when the murder took place.
Yeah, Kevin Moore did a bang-up job investigating this thing.
This man did the murder on behalf of Mark Richards. He was stood a
Oh,
foot
there
away
we
from him.
go.
He was
so happy.
manipulated by
Wait,
Mark
one
Richards, who was
second.
29, and so was another guy called Andrew Campbell. Andrew Campbell got state testimony. He was the state's witness and placed Crossan and Andrew at the murder scene while he stayed at the murder victim's house and ransacked the house. Okay.
Yeah, it was all about a little bit of money. And I'm happy to say, boy, what a surprise. And my favorite surprise guest ever, right? 1 second, let me do it this way. There we go. We have the actual Kevin Moore. And I swear, guys, this wasn't planned, right? Kevin, we didn't plan this. You weren't going to come on today, but you saw that I was doing this. What a fantastic story. And I wanted to share it to try to help Terry, who just started a new YouTube channel, because she brought you to bring this information all out and to share this. Can you give us an update on what's been going on? Oh. We got no audio. Yeah, so give us a moment while Kevin works out his audio issue. Go over to Cam Mic and it'll let you select your microphone. There you go. Yeah, so I can't tell you, it's an honor and privilege to have Mr. Moore with us.
Okay, that's working, I think, now, Steve.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And just watching it back, just listening back to that tape, it brings back so many memories. You know what I mean?
You got a good gotcha. And if you didn't know, I got a good gotcha on Kerry Cassidy. She ran with this fake story of Mark McCandless's death by shotgun to the head. And I did a deep dive investigation and we uncovered the actual truth behind the case. She ran with fake facts. She said this man was murdered by the dark magician cabal and all this stuff. She's pumping up this fake story about a man's tragic suicide. We looked into it and found out that everything she was saying in her videos, in her blog, was completely made up horseshit.
Yeah, I've heard about the Mark story, and it's a tragedy that he took his own life, you know,
Certainly.
for the family as well. Yeah, God, where do we start with this, man? Well, as that video sort of goes into, when I made that original interview with Kerry, I think it was back in, I want to say maybe July, August 2019. It could have been earlier. So that was a long time ago. And, you know, having multiple trips to Marin County to go investigate the crime, you know, so much more became apparent. You know what I mean? So, yeah, where do I start with this? So, yes, Baldwin never had any children. He was a single man. And I did spend time speaking to Cross and Hoover. I probably spent, oh my God, probably, well, I saw Crossing in person in the prison that he's at in California. And probably about 6 months worth of, you know, speaking to him by phone, you know, over the prison phone lines. And at one point, I decided to re-record the interviews with him because the initial way that I first did it was just not good enough for the documentary, well, docu-series. So, you know, I spent another 3 months with him back in 2020 over the phone. No, late 2019 over the phone, and really got his whole story, which, you know, it's the normal story of a very, you know, destructive childhood that led him down the line of, you know, getting involved with someone like Mark Richards. Cross and Hoover was stood just a couple of feet away from Mark while he was, you know, stabbing and batting Richard Baldwin to death. And it was Mark that gave him the cue to, you know, commit the murder. It was Mark that planned the murder. It was Mark that brought the boat to help dispose of the body in the Pablo Bay, the area where the body was discovered by a local Coast Guard in the end. It was Mark that ransacked Baldwin's house and sold guns and other bits of stolen pieces. You know.
Yeah, and it's interesting. They murdered this man, and really for not very much money. They didn't, you know.
Yeah, they just found some weed in the end, and I think it was about $2,000 in cash that they discovered in the end, because Baldwin actually owned a number of properties. His mum was a real estate, a realtor, and so he was working with her on property. I actually got to interview his Richard Baldwin's very close friend Tom in the end. And, you know, just to speak to Tom.
Yeah, I saw some of those interviews. Yeah.
Yeah, just to speak to him about what the funeral was like, and, you know, just the whole details of what occurred.
And I thought you really humanized him, the victim, because the victim is getting stepped all over again in this story, because here's Kerry Cassidy profiting off of the murderer's bullshit space Buck Rogers stories, you know. And I can't imagine that his friends and family are too happy about her doing that.
Well, I actually met Susan Baldwin, the sole surviving member of the family. She's based in Maine, and it was I went to go find her. She didn't want to be involved in any of it, and I just really wanted her take on it. And maybe wasn't the best idea, but I got to speak to her through her door in Maine, and you know, 38 years later, the murder is still as raw to her as it is in 1982 when her brother's life was taken. And she is disgusted that someone called Joanne Richards and Kerry Cassidy is promoting this story like they are. There's nothing legally she can do about it, and she wouldn't come on the documentary. It was just too painful for her, and she didn't, she didn't really trust my motives neither, which I understand. I mean, in the end, this became personal in the sense of trying to tell Richard Baldwin's story, and. I probably did get way too caught up in this, but it's a bit like a boxing match right now. I feel like I'm about to go prepping myself for one of the darker things that I'm about to cover, and it's taken a long time to get to this point of pre-production because of personal things that I've been going through as well. I've been through a divorce. I'm going through
sorry to hear
my
that
right now. No, everything happens for a reason, and there is good to come from everything. And I haven't really, told my story or gone public about it. And I'm probably not going to mention too much about it right now. And I know that will be used against me. Well, I've been already told by Joanne's friends that it's going to be used against me in the upcoming documentary.
Yeah, look at that terrible. He's a terrible person. He can't even stay married. Yeah, he can't even stay married. He's a terrible person. They're going to use whatever they can against you because you've got facts and evidence, and you've got interviews, and you've got the real story. They hate it when they get caught with their pants down selling fake stories, and somebody comes along and shows the real story. And you've done that. And people are asking in the live chat, and I'm curious myself. I think a lot of people want to see this documentary, and it has taken you some time to get it together, to get it to the point where you can release it. But people are wondering if you know a release date or when you think it might be finished.
Well, June the 27th is when I finish my immigration. And
congratulations. Are you going to be American?
No, I got a 2-year wait for that.
Okay. Well, you're on your way.
Yeah. No, I'm very grateful for everything right now. But that just, I went pro se with everything, and that just ripped all my time away. I mean, I can understand why people have lawyers, right? I just not had the money to do that. Well, I have a lawyer or lawyers helping me as limited scope lawyers, but obviously their names aren't going on the paperwork. But yeah, it's a lot of paperwork. So I didn't ever think it was going to take this long to get to post-production, but there is still some filming I may do. I'm not going to do another crowdfunder for money, but there is still some filming that I may do. And when is it going to be complete? I'm going to be working on it every day. I'm hopefully going to be vlogging about it as well, just to keep up to date with, with the progress of it. But I will not stop until it's done. I will not leave where I am until that docu-series is done. And it is going to be a docu-series. So it's kind of like, true crime meets ufology.
Conspiracy land. Yeah, ufology.
Yeah, it's really
great
weird.
story.
It's really weird.
It's a great story. Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned I was listening back to some parts of the discussion there that you're talking about. Bill Brockbrader. We're going to look into what we say. I'm going to look into various other people that Kerry's given a platform to as well, and definitely Bill Brockbrader is there. And Bill's an interesting one. And I mean, I've got his original court audio. And where he's admitting, and this has been released before by Don Shipley. Don Shipley is actually on this docu-series as well. His interview's already been recorded, and he never gave us the original audio from the court. But I mean, I ordered it from the court, and it's incredible when the defense lawyer is asking him about Area 51. Did you make it up? Yeah, that's not true. Were you a Navy SEAL? No, I wasn't. That's not true.
So under oath,
it's interesting.
Bill, one of Kerry's sources told all these incredible stories about being a Navy SEAL and being in the secret space program, but under oath in court, he admitted that he made it all up. It was all fake.
Yeah,
and she didn't take any of those interviews down or stop taking YouTube money for those.
No, I actually traced his victim. Who was 12 years old at the time, and he sodomized her, and
nice guy.
Very nice guy, top bloke, and it will be up to the gods whether she comes on or not right now. There's also a number of other people that we're looking at. Bill Ryan as well, he's going to be on it. Well, he knows that I'm going to discuss him in the documentary. Obviously, he was quite a big component of Project Camelot back in the day.
Sure, he was.
I remember interviewing the lady who owns a fine art gallery in Florida, and
and you broke this story too.
Well, I didn't break it, but I was the first one to actually interview the woman that he owed the money to.
Sure.
He sold a fake Picasso, and he's never reimbursed that woman or made any attempts to offer reimbursement. And I know, look, we've all done things that are, that we've all got a past in the sense that we've done things that are wrong, but there is always, a way forward to correct some of those things. Do you know what I mean? So that's going to be included. And also Simon Parks as well, who's put a video out there to say that he had met someone in the intelligence services in London who gave him information to clarify that Mark was a person of interest that was involved in the Navy.
Yeah, this is what they do. Like one fake fairy tale salesman backs up another one, but this is the same guy who has sex with cat queen aliens, so I don't think he's very credible.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about Simon, obviously, is his rise to fame right now. And if you're listening, Simon, I am coming for you. And
you heard it here first.
I am. There's a court case right now in England that's taking place where Simon is currently suing someone for putting out a video that looked into some of Simon's past. And yeah, that is interesting. And I better not say too much right now.
Yeah, I've heard about that case, but not being very familiar with the English courts or how to get the documents, I haven't gotten any further information.
Well,
I heard that he's very litigious and he sues people, like kind of like Corey Good is suing all these people that say his fake stories are fake.
Put it this way, he's spent a lot of money on this case right now, and you think to yourself, well, it's up to him how he makes his money. Yeah, that's fine, but I'm talking about a lot of money, yeah, it's been great, Simon, to work with this guy and to help him with documentation and to supply affidavits and also to dig in deeper. And it's interesting, very interesting where Simon came from.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy it's so funny with his rise to fame because like he's literally like a driving instructor in England, right?
Well,
like he's not.
Yeah, I mean, look, when he brought, I was always dubious about Simon. I mean, look, this was back in the day, and when he went against the Mark Richards case with this BS, I was like, right, F it, you can be included, because if you're gonna show support to such a story which is not true, then it's fair play.
It's open season, yeah. If he's gonna, he's chiming in, so you can chime in too.
It's got to be done in a delicate way. I'm not here to bust balls, really, or
No, you bust a lot of balls, but I love you, bro. Well, I love you for it, and I love those gotcha moments, and yeah.
But we've all got, all of us have things that we aren't proud of in our past, right? So it's. I think though, but when you're misleading people so much from mental health issues or whatever's going on, self-delusion or whatever it is, narcissism, whatever it may be, right, that someone's suffering from, then let's just I think get together and just try to just point out that there's something not quite right here, and just I think it's so interesting how people get so attached to someone, and a bit like religion actually, and it's tell me what to do, tell me how to be, and I won't question it, but I think we should question stuff, and there should be discernment.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned in this video the same kind of weird awakening that I had. Like I was so naive when I first got into this, really when I was a child, that I just assumed that when a presenter or an interviewer was interviewing somebody who like said they were a doctor or said they were a Navy SEAL or whatever their qualifications or their education was, I just assumed that person checked and wouldn't let them, just tell fake stories. But
that's a great point. Let's say it like this, maybe, that if you're going to get a guest on for the once, right, then okay, where do we have the time to go get court records or birth certificates, right? It's not
Yeah.
about that, right? But if you're going to give your platform and support over and over and over again, and you're not going to do your due diligence, then that's not right. That's not
I
helping
agree
no
with you.
one. That's not spiritually.
Or at the very
anybody.
least, you know what I would say is if I had somebody on as a one-off and I didn't have the time to research their education and their background, but then a viewer, because we're very interactive here on my show, like viewers will send me that kind of stuff like you're talking about. Somebody might send me the proof that somebody that I had on my show that was calling himself a physicist or a doctor is a fraud and his education is from a degree mill. I would share that with my audience and apologize, say, one of our viewers sent us this, and I would check it, before I shared it and say, they're correct. This person is not, his education is not what he claimed it to be. But that would be the fair and like, I think ethical thing to do. But when you get into ethics with these people, they're looking for the next alien story that they could sell.
Yeah, it's a fine line. I mean, people are allowed to tell their story. And I think nowadays, on my more recent interviews, I'm obviously, I'm just a bit more pushy with, where do these facts come from? Well, let's just leave it on the table that, you haven't checked this out, or that's not, it's a fine line. It really is. And I think sometimes though, when things go out of too much of the shared reality, there's alarm bells ringing there. But then, I'm the guy that's, put the channeling docuseries out there, and I'm on episode.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
It's a dichotomy. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I was going to ask you if you're sort of wake up to being more discerning through investigating this Mark Richards case has affected your attitude towards channelers and channeling and your previous thoughts on it.
Yeah, of course it has. I mean, look, it's a very difficult one because I try to come from the perspective of, is there teaching information that this person is going to give you that's going to help you improve your life in this present moment? Okay, a bit like a life coach. Yeah. Is there something that's coming from this information that you've never considered before that something of would make you a better person, or at least you can try to apply it at times in your life, rather than it just kind of like a mental masturbation of in one ear out the other, right? I wake up many days and it's like, shit, am I doing the right thing? And in the end, I have to come to the my own thing of, am I trying to, is what I'm doing helping to bring about the world that I would like to see, in the sense of, more love towards ourselves, more love towards a fellow man, more oneness in this world, a more peaceful place to come from, because you can't change the world, right? You can't change the
right. And you know what I always think,
but you can change yourself.
I am pretty critical of most channelers and channeling. However, I have to acknowledge and respect the fact that there are hundreds, thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people whose lives have been impacted tremendously positively from things like the Urantia book or the Law of One. And it has turned their lives around and made their lives better. So to me, I go, maybe I can't be critical of all of it, because some of people are finding huge benefits to channeled information.
Yeah. I went to the Law of One. I met the people there. Yeah. And it's almost driven me away from doing this work and wanting to do a completely separate, different career path to this. But it keeps pulling me back of, is there something in the information that comes through these people or anyone that comes on my show that is helpful towards people's present moment for issues that we're going through that we've not considered? Absolutely. And sometimes the same information keeps coming through because we never listened in the first place. And I think some of the shows that are out there that look into, I was watching some of CW stuff the other day, and I will be going on CW's show because when the documentary series comes out, I did promise him that I would, break that docu-series first with him, right? This was,
I think you promised me too, but yeah.
Well, I think I promised you second, right?
Oh, okay. I don't care what the order. He can have you first as long as we get you, because I can't wait to watch this thing, digest the whole thing, and then hopefully get to pick your brain behind some of the
Sure.
some of the
And
process that went into it.
I'll go into a few things in just a minute. I will while you've got me here. Yeah, it's yeah, when you take this path, you're going to get a lot of criticism. And I think sometimes when I watch some of the shows that even CW's done recently, I think to myself, well, we're picking the worst of the worst here. And I've seen some of the people, before he picked them. And I would just rather get them onto, if I was going to interview them, just to, really go to town on, where is this information coming from? What is your background and everything? But he does it, he's done a good job at looking at some of these people. But yes, it's like, there's good people in any trade and there's con artists. And you've got to use the discernment yourself as an adult to look through that as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I know that last I checked in with you or heard about this documentary, you were doing something like getting actors to film recreations of some of the events. How did that go? And where are you with that?
I never raised the money that I wanted to, and this was at a point of crisis in my life at the time, so I didn't get to put the effort into it I wanted to, and so I've got some test footage that I did with the Mark Richards actor, and some others, and I may use that footage, or I may refilm some bits. I've still got Bill Brockbrader's part to film, and I'm using an actor in Miami just to do that, so I've got to go down there at some point. There may be some other actors come on. I think we're going to get actors to play Simon Parks. Well, I say we, I mean me. I keep saying that, to play Simon Parks and Kerry Cassidy as well. Even though she's been deplatformed, she, obviously has a central role in this as well.
Yeah, it's interesting to see her, I think this grand plan of hers to get subscribers to go to her website is going to fail terribly, because if you're not finding new people, because people lose interest after a while, so she's just going to die a slow death over there, I think. I mean, I don't know.
That's the problem. I mean, the eyes are on Google, the eyes are on YouTube, and when you move away from that platform or are forced to move away, you will soon probably wish that you could come back. And that's all through her own doing as well. She didn't stick to the terms. And what do you expect?
Yeah, but no, it's a deep state operation to stop her, because she's getting too close to the truth about aliens, Kevin. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the fact that, and listen, not only did she get her channel shut down, but she went on another well-known show, Jean-Claude from Beyond Mystic in Canada. She went on his show and said everything you're not supposed to say on YouTube in a 1-hour interview. She talked about the letter of the alphabet, the health pandemic, the shot, all this stuff, and his channel got deleted from existence the very next day. So she hasn't learned her lesson, because she's still saying the same stuff,
She'll never stop. She'll never stop. Yeah, Kerry Cassidy. Well, I'm grateful for what she does, because it's made this docuseries possible. And I think whether it's a I hope to release the docuseries for free on YouTube, and then I'll find a home for it, wherever that's going to be.
I think it could fit right into Netflix and
I don't know. I think
like
it would need a lot more money spending on it. So far, it's cost $18,500. It's not enough to make a docuseries to that level of Netflix. It needs more money than that. But I'll do the best with what I've got, and hopefully it'll turn out to be something watchable. But yes, the murder is important, but it's where are we now? Why is it relevant? So I think that's the angle for it.
Yeah, and I was also curious if this guy Mark Richards is making all this money selling books and bullshit.
He's not. He's not.
Okay, well, he gives the appearance that he is. I would think that some of that money should go to his victims' families or something, right?
Yeah, it's all BS. No, there's very little money made, and
so maybe he's making like commissary money, so he can buy chips while he's in prison, or ramen noodles,
But he's still a dangerous man. You got to understand this. I met with what was Sergeant Walt Costa. He retired as a detective and maybe more. I met him up I met him up with my researcher at the time, and he was teaching at college in Marin. And he wouldn't come on the docuseries because he felt that Richards was still influencing many younger men around him who don't spend so long in prison, and he's only got to influence the wrong one. And if he was to come on the docuseries, he just felt that it was just not the risk he wanted to take. So he did warn me as well that just to be careful. But it's too late now because it's all going ahead. Speaking of DaCosta, who arrested him on that day with a gun at his head, Mark was definitely on planet Earth. But also, Mark, yes, he.
Yeah, that's a great point. Kerry Cassidy keeps saying that he was off planet.
It changed. Later on one of the Mark interviews, the Total Recall interviews, it changed to Mark having tea with his parents. So
or maybe he was in space and he teleported back just in time to be arrested.
Absolutely, that's what exactly.
Because isn't he's supposed to be teleporting? Somebody asked her, like, how is he getting all these updates if he's stuck in prison? And she claims that he gets teleported out of prison to get updates from the Galactic Council. Right?
Yeah, she called it a form of channeling. She's on the original interview I did with her in Los Angeles. This was before I ever, considered doing the Mark rituals, or before that phone call that you've all just heard. Form of channeling or teleportation. It was very unclear what it was.
Some kind of woo. It was some kind of woo, and he gets updates, kind of like these other people that get briefings and intel, right? Sure, they do.
Yeah. I think with Mark, because he's never admitted to the murder or never admitted to being there, but all the evidence placed him there, and there was the state witness, the star witness, the guy that gave state testimony, and
he turned state's evidence. Then he flipped.
Lost the plot with trying to trace him down, and eventually on this crazy road trip, I found him, and we spoke, and having spoken to him, which no one else has before, that really, confirmed it for me that, this is all true, right? I mean, look, the court testimony is enough, right? But just to hear it from the guy that gave the state testimony back in the day, and his life is still not so great nowadays. When people find out that he was part of a murder back in 1982.
Yeah, you're going to have trouble finding a job. You're going to have trouble living. Yeah. Because people aren't going to trust you and they'll be scared of you.
He stayed at the house while Cross and Hoover and Mark drove, was driven by Richard Baldwin to Richard's classic car garage, as the fall was, well, not the fall, but the trap was for Crossy to have a look at some of the nice sports cars and to look at the dune buggy that was parked at the inside the lockup. And I went to the lockup. I went to his original unit. I've already filmed down there, yes, the signal was given to Crossy, and I remember the first time when Crossy, described the murder, just described taking Baldwin's life, from the gurgling to the last words and everything else. And I remember getting off the phone and just feeling absolutely sick. And I guess doing this docuseries has led me to want to do more of a true crime podcast in the future.
Yeah, I want to expand into some of that, because I think I could do a good job investigating some of the stuff and talking to original witnesses and telling the story,
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. But when you hear your first murder and, sat with him as well, I mean, I thought back in the day when I did that tape recording with Kerry Cassidy that Crossy was released because, I didn't know any better, but obviously, he wasn't. And unfortunately, when I released an update video on Crossy, that's still on my channel right now, and that video will be taken down at some point, that also caused him, on top of his own misguidedness in the parole board hearing, because he hadn't sorted himself out digs to live in or a job or anything else, but they used that audio against him.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and so we don't talk anymore. But my focus for this docuseries is to try to tell his story, or a separate thing on him, where it just talks about how he has rehabilitated, which I do believe he has. I know some people don't.
I believe in a road to redemption for all men. All men deserve one.
Absolutely. The problem is he's so used to telling the story that he's disconnected the remorse side. And I know it's there, and I'm not trying to back up someone where it's not there. I do believe it's there for him. But obviously, when you're on the phone for 6 months, they are taping these conversations as well, not just the video I released. And
sure,
it was all used against him.
So yes, so that wasn't so great. But his next parole board hearing is in 2023. So the docuseries will be out way before that. Yeah, Mark Richards got done for first-degree murder and a few other things on the side, robbery as well. But I don't have the quotes in front of me because this is all last minute.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Just for the benefit of people, I don't know, Kevin heard that we were doing this or saw that we were doing this and jumped
I saw
on
you
here.
were doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how happy I am. See, this is how I should get interviews with people that are too busy.
Yeah.
I should just do a show about them and then send them a link and say, in case you feel compelled, to come on and give us an update. But it's a pleasure to have you. And I just wanted to mention that I've seen a lot of the material that Kevin has worked on for this, because you were kind of leaking some of the interview bits and things out for a while. And he has left no stone unturned. He tried to talk to everybody that he could involved with this case. So nobody has the story like Kevin has here.
No, we've interviewed. Me now. There was over 26 interviews so far, and a few more bits of information to come yet. And I've even interviewed Mark's ex-wife, Karen Bacon, one of Mark's old school college friends, Doug. There was Doug Van Allen. And there was another Doug as well who knew Mark back in the day, because obviously I don't know if you know, but back in the day Mark was arrested for car insurance fraud when he was at college.
So not only is he a murderer, he's a fraudster too. But Kerry Cassidy is going to take his word for everything about his secret space adventures.
He got let off for that. His same lawyer, Carl Shapiro, got him off for that back in the day, and also spared his life from the gas chamber when it came to his murder trial.
Oh yeah, he could have got the death penalty easily in a case that gruesome. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to get him out. I mean, Joanne Richards, she's on my ass right now, and I don't blame her. But who wins in this? There's all the accusations that I'm working for the deep state and all this.
Oh, me too. By the way, Kerry Cassidy just said that the other day that I'm a deep state. I'm a deep state asset because I busted her telling fake stories.
Yeah, but who wins here? Well, the only woman that's going to win is Joanne Richards, because she's on the trust for the family. There is another young lady that's on the trust, which I've spoken to, Beth McDermott, and she even forgot that she was on the trust for the house when I traced her down in Canada. And she's staying on the trust now, so I'm glad for that. So she'll get half the house. But when that man dies, that land is going to be worth quite a bit in Marin County. The house is dilapidated. It's a shithole, right? But the land is worth a friggin' fortune. The houses around there are amazing. And she will be the one that gets that money. And I'm sure she will be stopping her BS once that's over. Well, she's actually got a new book coming out soon, Midlife Magic, the story of Joanne Richards. So I'm sure she's going to release that. Yeah, when the docuseries comes out as a weapon to kind of go against what I'm saying, which is fine.
Somebody in the live chat said, "You're a Fed, I'm a Fed, everybody's a Fed." Yeah, if you go against, I've noticed that she has a pattern. Anybody that goes against her stories is suddenly a deep state asset, a CIA disinformation agent, or something like that. It's like a stupidest form of deflection. Instead of addressing the people's evidence or claims, she just dismisses them as CIA or something.
Yeah. And it's I think I have no choice but to see this through right now and just to get it done, and I can't wait to get it done. But she's the one that's going to win out of all this. And I think she's moving more towards becoming a mystic now, becoming a clairvoyant or psychic. Because she talks about how the father of Mark Richards comes through to her and talks about how proud he is of her and everything. And I'm like, I think you're channeling your lower self there, Joanne. I think you need to learn the difference between the higher self and the lower self. It's sad. It really is. And but I think just to keep that memory of Richard Baldwin, who was not a perfect human being like none of us are, but he didn't deserve to be to die in the horror that he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, the thing that bothers me more than the murder is absolutely awful, but the fact that these people are running around trying to profit from this murderer's fake stories, thereby victimizing the victim's family again, it's just too much for me,
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. There's not many out there like this. This is probably the extreme, right? But I think it's a good lesson in discernment. Just because, as you said in this interview, just because someone's got a large following, it does not make them right. But it's like some people will say, well, he's got a lot of money or she's got a lot of money. He's successful. He's got all the answers. And
Sure.
no, they're on their own journey.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. And and again, like this kind of one of these things is not like the other with her too. Like, oh, I'm telling people the truth and love and light, and at the same time, she's profiting from a murderer's fake stories, and she's profiting from fake stories about a tragic suicide. It just kind of shows her ethics and morality.
I think that goes towards the medium psychics channel is that they also are human beings bringing this information through with their own fallacy. And I've been guilty and am guilty of putting people out there on my platform when I know better, but I will have to answer for that one day, and that'll be my journey to see maybe one or two of those interviews that I put out through, and I probably will do.
Yeah, well, I'm learning lately that you can't please all the people all the time. Like people started attacking me because I started having experiencers on, or because I had a tarot card reader on, and a bunch of people lost their minds. And it was just a girl coming here giving free tarot readings for the audience, and I wasn't but people.
Well, I think
people
that
are
comes
very passionate about certain things.
No, I think that comes from the perspective of someone giving that viewpoint. I'm not saying they are. I don't know, but maybe would come from the space of there is no such thing as the continuation of anything. That we're not consciousness, or we're not whatever this is, the soul or the I am or whatever. It doesn't exist because there's no science to say it exists, and therefore anything based on that premise has to be untrue. But I do believe that we are something much more in this body that we are communicating through right now. That there's an essence of the I am, or the consciousness, or something that's having this experience as me and you, that has always been and always will be. And
that we agree on. Yeah. And people will say whatever about my relationship with some other show hosts, and like I can't. There's some people like I don't know, John Stossel, investigative reporter, or like the guy from To Catch a Predator, right? And then later they did stories that I just don't agree with some of the stories that they did, or why they did them, or like I can't agree with everything somebody does, but I can like and respect the work that they did that I do like and respect. And you and I can agree to disagree, but I think we agree on some channeling now. I'm glad to get that understanding, because I think, like there's some people that find tremendous benefit in channel material, and who am I to tell them they shouldn't? But when people start channeling interdimensional aliens and stuff, I just kind of turn off and I go, "Oh, this is hokey."
Yeah, and I think even some of the ones that I may say are more credible, right? Then they would soon admit, if you was in front of them, that is this their higher self coming through, masquerading as what they're saying it is, because they are not able to take responsibility that that they're able to bring this information through, so they call it something else that it's not, but it's the only way that they can justify what they're doing at some
or communicate it.
Level.
Or
I
communicate
don't know.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Chris Hansen, that's who I was talking about. I'm sorry, right. Chris Hansen from To Catch a Predator, because after that he's just sort of turned into a bottom feeder, in my opinion. But I still liked and respected him for some of the work that he did before. You can't, and also I lose objectivity. I like Kevin as a person. So but here's the difference. Like some of these woo salesmen, if I say I disagree with them, I'm a CIA disinformation agent, or I'm the devil. Kevin's a good guy, and he can disagree with me, and I can disagree with him, and we can still talk like friends. That's what good people do. They can agree to disagree on some things.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty critical of myself sometimes, and I've done things that I'm not proud of. Do you know what I mean? and
Sure.
I can't take them back. It's what is done is done. And sometimes in my life, I'm definitely not practicing anything that of all the channelers that I've met in my life. But I guess there's a day where you reflect and you think, okay, well, maybe next time I'll try better. I'll try to do better.
Yeah, I think it's always okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them and you try to do better going forward. Sure.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those, and I guess anyone that's on planet Earth that's just part of the parcel, part of the picture, of learning. So yeah, it's there are no mistakes, just experiences, and there
No, that's a
sure are
good
a
way
lot
to
of
put it.
experiences.
That's a good way to put it, especially if you're in a period of your life where you feel like you're making a lot of mistakes. That can give you some comfort. Like, these are just experiences, and I got to get through this. And I'm real sorry that you were having a tough time, because I can't imagine that's got to be a lot of personal stuff to deal with. And sure, when that stuff's going on, everything else is kind of like secondary. You got to get through the personal stuff before you can get to the work stuff that you have on your plate. And one of the reasons that I like and respect you is because I see some of me in you. Like, you work real hard. You uncover every rock, stone. You don't leave any stone unturned. You go down and you follow every lead down like a bulldog, like an English bulldog. So I see some of that. I'm kind of like that. So
Well, I didn't initially do this by myself, so I'm not going to say all this was me. Do you know what I mean? There was a team, and I was working with people, which I'm no longer working with, and I don't take credit for it all at all.
Well, that's what the credits are for at the end of the credit roll.
Absolutely, they're going to be. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, there's a lot to this story, and maybe one day I'll tell my personal story of why I've got to this point right now. But everything in its right time.
Great. Well, I can't tell you how happy I am that you jumped on here to give us a little bit of an update. Thank you for, giving us some of your time. People have been asking me, but I didn't want to speak out of turn, and we haven't spoken in some time. So it was good to catch up with you. And I always love this, because this show gives me a passport to share with my audience. Instead of, you and I could have just did this on the phone. We could have talked about what was going on, but I'm glad that you let me share it with the audience, because they're all curious too about the documentary, about what you've been doing. People say you look great. I hope you feel great. And I wish you the best of success going forward with this project and every one you do.
Yeah, I think I'll always have the channeling in the background and the psychics and all that kind of stuff. I don't think I'll leave it. I've got businesses that I want to set up, and to try to do from the right ethical space as well. And I know I'm always going to get a load of shit for that, but it's my life. And when I'm dead, who's gonna care?
Yeah. A mentor of mine once told me that when you make a mistake or you're having a tough time, or anything that you think is a huge tragedy, just always bear in mind that someday you're going to die. And this little thing that just happened is not a big deal when you consider
that's a good point. I know we're supposed to be going there, but that's a good point. Is that we've all got that common thing in we're all gonna pass. We're not taking our underwear. We ain't taking our assets. We take F all with us. Mm-hmm. So if we're all going to go to that on that journey, I think that's also what drove me to want to explore the alternative as well. It's like, well, where are we going? Where have we come from? And what is in that space to, like I said before, like a broken record, to help this present moment more. But that's just my take on it. It doesn't have to be anyone else's.
Sure. And we're all just seeking and learning and finding our own path, right? That's what we're here for. Apparently, among other things.
Yeah, and to be kind to each other as well. I think. I mean, am I being kind in making this docu-series? No, this has been boxing gloves on, YouTube fight. You know what I mean? Almost, it's going to get to that point as well. But sometimes that's just what happens when you do make these choices with free will, right? But am I preaching what I'm saying by doing a documentary like this? God, it's a fine line.
No, and I know how taxing it can be, because this stuff gets emotional, especially you're dealing with this tragic murder, and it gets emotional, and it takes so much energy to follow up all these leads and to Kevin's credit, he does a better job than me because I'm a little bit travel restricted, so I do most things by telephone. But you're actually getting on planes and flying places and driving
Back in
places.
the day.
Yeah,
Back in the day. Yeah. Would there be another documentary? I don't know.
I heard from a friend
I don't know.
who made a really good documentary, and I asked him, "Are you starting on a new one?" And he said, "I don't know because the first one almost killed me."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. Well,
No,
let's hope this one is
I
going to
think
be a first of many. I predict it will.
I think what I'd like to do maybe after this, and I think I'm going to make a choice, but I don't know. I just see myself going through a big change, and I think I can't say this for sure, but I'm interested in like the news, and I've got this idea for a news site called the International Spiritual News Network, the ISNN, and it would combine the news, but then looking at it from a deeper karmic reason with looking at the bigger reasons under it karmically and spiritually with maybe channelers and psychics and stuff like that, just something really, really different. I don't know if that's ever going to come into fruition, but I'm thinking of it.
Yeah, well, good for you. I wish you the best of success, and thank you so much for doing
You
this.
too.
I really, really appreciate it. This was an unexpected surprise for me
Appreciate
today.
that.
Thank you very much. I'm going to throw you out of here and do a quick wrap up. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks, Mr. Kevin Moore. Thank you. All right, friends. So, boy, what can I say? What a big surprise. I always wanted to get Mr. Moore on my show and talk to him a bit more about this stuff. I want to remind all of our audio listeners, if you're listening in audio podcast land, we broadcast live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. And there's a live chat. You too can participate in the discussion like we do here every live show. I want to give some time and attention to the live chat. So if you have any questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. Wow, that was great, Stephen. Thanks, AJ. You know what's funny is I kind of was like, I was thinking that this was going to be sort of a filler show before I get to something else that I'm working on for tomorrow's show. You never know when you go click live what's going to happen. It's a live show. You get the show warts and all, or you get the show great stuff and all. And tonight, boy, what a surprise. Kevin Moore just happened to hear that we were doing this and jumped on here. Rodrigo says, this turned out great. Happy for having dropped in. Kudos, Steve and Kevin in the chatverse. See there? You never know what's going to happen. So make sure that you tune in. Jonaside, so those slides, Stephen. I'm telling you, I'm working on it. I'm going to do, just for you, Jonaside, I'm going to do a presentation on my version of Linux operating system with slides, right? And Tere Joyce is here and says, thank you, Stephen and Kevin, for the support. Absolutely. I had no idea that Kevin was going to come on my show. I swear, Tere. I just thought Tere started this new channel. I want to see if I can signal boost her and get her a little bump. And really, everybody, make sure, if you'd like this story came from Tere Joyce. She got him to release the tape of talking to Kerry Cassidy, and her interview is amazing with him. Just search Kerry Cassidy, Kevin Moore, Tere Joyce in the YouTube search bar, and you will find it. Actually, it's on the Kevin Moore Show channel. I am gonna copy it, and I'm gonna go over to our live chat, and I'm gonna put it in our live chat so you could see Tere Joyce complete interview with Kevin Moore, which was back in 2019, but it's still very relevant to the story. Jonaside says, I subbed Tere Joyce a while ago. She got a brand new channel. You might want to check again. There is a link to her new channel in the About section of this video here. And I'm going to tweet it out as well. So if you're listening in audio podcast land, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Stephen Cambion, or you can go to our YouTube channel. Just search Truthseekers and look for that weird looking guy with the sunglasses. And that would be your host, me, Stephen Cambion. I welcome you to come and subscribe to the YouTube channel where we do the live shows, because remember, if you're listening in audio podcast land, and I realize a lot of people have jobs that let them listen but not watch, so that's why we're doing this audio podcast now. And the audio podcast is available anywhere you get your podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Spreaker and I believe Amazon even now. It's literally available everywhere, but we'd like you to come and be a part of our community. So please do search this YouTube search box for Truthseekers and look for the guy with the sunglasses and the weird dark hair. That would be me. And you'll find us. Please make sure that you subscribe to our show and hit that notification bell. Every time we do a live show, you'll get a notification and know that we are broadcasting live. Otherwise, be sure to follow me at Stephen Cambion on Twitter. And I post every show before we do them, so you get a little bit of notice if you follow me on Twitter. That is the best way. Following me on Twitter, sometimes these YouTube notifications don't work out, but if you follow me on Twitter, you will definitely get notice of every new show that we do here. And you too can join us in the live chat. We are a live interactive chat. And when you hear me reading, I'm reading live comments from the people in our live chat while we're doing the live broadcast. Noodle Time is here. Shout out to Noodle Time and asks, what do you think of the story about the children in Zimbabwe who supposedly saw aliens? Well, I think it's very credible from the witness testimony I have heard, and then in this recent documentary, I think it's The Phenomenon, right? They interviewed those children as adults, and they all stuck by their stories 100%, saying that they saw a spacecraft and aliens. I would tend to believe those people until proven otherwise, right? Yes. Jonaside said, everyone sub to Tere Joyce's new channel. Let's get her past 100 subs. Yeah, and I am a terrible friend because I still haven't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going over to her channel right now. There's a note in the About section of our video here, and it says, please subscribe to Tere Joyce's new channel. I'm going over there right now and hitting that subscribe button and smashing that notification bell. And please do the same for me. Yeah, we've got her at 77 subscribers. So let's see. We've got 60 of you in the live chat. Come on, guys. Go over there and click that subscribe button. Let's help Tere out. She does good work, and I would really like to help her. I consider it my karmic duty, considering when I started my new channel some 11 months ago, a lot of different content creators, show hosts, podcast hosts, radio show hosts all sent me some subscribers. So my success was not my own. Somebody helped me get to the sub level that we're at right now. And I want to return the favor and be all right with karma and do the same for others. So Terry's my first attempt to do that. Please do help her out. Go over there and subscribe. Rogue Status is laughing out loud about, yeah, getting yelled at holding the flashlight. Now he's holding the flashlight. I'm still getting yelled at. Yeah. My father, Rogue Status, was he was a mechanic, but he didn't do a mechanic for a job. He just, tinkered around. My brother is an actual real diesel mechanic for SEPTA, believe it or not. He rebuilds all the engines in the buses. But my father growing up was always working on something, whether it was a boat motor or a car motor or a go-kart, a moped, a motorcycle. And my job was to hold the flashlight and get yelled at while he did that. I'm still traumatized to this day because I wanted to learn about engines, but all I learned was how to hold the flashlight and get yelled at. My father was the kind of guy that thought that cursing made everything work better, right? That's how you made progress. You're doing a home remodeling project, just start cursing profusely when things don't go well. And it was very traumatic growing up with him like that. He was very hot-headed. He had a terrible, terrible temper. I do sometimes myself, but I really try to control myself a little better than he did, right? Sometimes people are there to teach you lessons, Rogue Status, and sometimes they're there to teach you lessons of how, you can't be or how to be better at some things, right? Dustin says, pretty good story. FGraph72 says, check out Stephen Cambion on Patreon. See that? All of you haters? I don't even have to ask for money. My audience does it for me because they want me to be happy and successful. Remember, friends, every super chat donation makes a Stephen Cambion smile. Don't you want to see me smile more? So I do want to thank everybody. I'm going to check in with that right now just to make sure that I did not miss anybody. And actually what we're doing now, to make absolutely certain that we never miss a super chat is that at the end of the show, and we're wrapping up right in a few minutes here, I read the day's super chats again, just to be sure that we recognize, thank those people, and recognize their kindness, their generosity, and support. So tonight we had kind and generous donation of $10 Australian from Ann Chirashi. Thank you very much for your kindness, your generosity, and support. Rogue Status with a generous donation of $5 in super chat. Thank you very much, fellow Philadelphian. Someday we're going to have you visit the studio here. Well, I call it a studio. It's really a little tiny office. Don't tell anybody when you come here, Rogue Status, though. I'm going to make you sign an NDA. FGraph72 with a kind and generous donation of US $2 in super chat. Sent a nice super chat of $2, said starting a producer production aid fund. Thank you very much. And Karen Roka with a kind and generous $5 Canadian super chat says, happy birthday again, Stephen. So thank you all very much for your kindness, your generosity, and support. You guys give me an attitude of gratitude because basically anything I need to do around here, I've got a couple of bucks to do it. And I've got some great stuff coming up that you guys are going to love. Some new characters, some other things coming. Six's Design, reminding everybody, thank you for coming. You all come back now. Yes, and if you have not, there's All Around Arbiter with a kind and generous $1 super chat donation. Thank you, All Around Arbiter, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show and continued support of the show. It is much appreciated. You too, All Around Arbiter, give me an attitude of gratitude. I can't tell you how thankful I am that people want to see this thing continue, this crazy idea that I had for a show. And, we're doing great right now. Not only are we broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, we are also shooting our podcast out. As soon as the live show ends, I upload the audio and it goes out to some 14 different audio podcast networks. So we are literally everywhere now. Somebody sent me this graphic. I'm going to share it, but not today because I don't remember exactly where it is. I saved it, but it has our Truthseekers show logo, and it's probably bad timing for this slogan. But they put spreading like a virus. It's not good timing for that slogan, but it's true. We're now on these 3 platforms live and 14 different audio podcast distribution networks, which, by the way, somebody mentioned to me that there's commercials in them, but I listened to an entire podcast, a 2+ hour podcast, and there wasn't that many commercials, much less than other people's, and I really can't. I have very little control also. If you don't like an advertiser, I apologize. I have no control over that. There is an on and an off. I cannot exclude different advertisers, although I can somewhat in YouTube, but we don't do the ads in YouTube. There is simply, I don't think there's enough money in the YouTube ads at our level of viewership. So I've decided to keep the YouTube ads off for now. But I am working on a subscription, a YouTube subscription. You could be membership. So you could be a YouTube Truthseekers member soon, but we're working that out. It'll be ready shortly. But I would have that done, but I'm too busy working on slides for Jonaside, so everybody could thank him, right? Everybody could thank him. Everybody could thank him for why I don't have time to get the memberships done, right? And I'm also working on a t-shirt shop so people can buy t-shirts and support the show. Lots of great things coming. A lot of great guests coming up. We've got Michael Schrack coming up. And boy, wow, what a great show tonight. I want to thank him again for Kevin Moore of the Kevin Moore Show fame jumping on as a surprise guest. That was my favorite surprise guest ever, right? So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here. I want to remind everybody, once again, if you're in audio podcast land, please go to YouTube. Go to the search box. Search for Truthseekers. Look for the guy with the sunglasses. That would be me, Stephen Cambion. Come here, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And also, just to remind everybody, please do, if you're watching on YouTube right now or you're watching a replay, please do like, comment, and share these videos. It really does help. Every bit of interaction, if you just post a nice show as a reply to the video, raises us in the search engines and helps more people find our show. And certainly that is beneficial to our show. If you're feeling generous, there are links in the About section or in the description of this video for how you can support us on Patreon or PayPal. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I'm always happy, friends, always happy when there's an audience. And I got to tell you, I think tonight we had our best numbers ever. We had 70-something people in the live chat. Best numbers. And that's probably due to the Kevin Moore bump. So see, look, karma. I did this show tonight to try to get Tere Joyce a bump. And meanwhile, here comes Kevin Moore on my show to give me a bump up in numbers tonight. It's nice. I feel good karmically about tonight. It was a really good idea to try to help Tere Joyce out. And I can't thank Kevin Moore enough for coming here and helping us out, because people are going to want to hear what he had to say about the documentary and this story. So, friends, like I said, I'm always happy when there's an audience. We had a great one tonight. I'm so happy and thankful that you could be a part of mine. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you. And we will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good night, friends.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Cambion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Cambion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers. Truthseekers.